Can I have your attention, please? We'll be starting up shortly. Good evening, and welcome to the Planning Board meeting for Monday, December 4th, 2023. The first matter on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from November 20th, 23. Any board members have any comments, corrections, or questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would just ask that we add on the members absent, that we add the member Richard Lockhart. Is he still a member of the board? So that's what we would add him on there. And there are no other recommended changes or revisions. I would make a motion to accept the minutes with the revision.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Any voting against? No. Those minutes are approved. Next on the agenda is 2 Prince Ave, 1 Markley Way. Markley Group LLC has applied to the Lowell Planning Board seeking to amend a 2018 site plan review approval, which was also amended in 2020. The applicant proposes to alter the parking area and make associated changes to the site. The subject property is located in the light industrial zoning district. The changes require site plan review approval per section 11.4 for the construction or expansion of any parking lot with more than 14 spaces or 4,000 square feet of impervious surface. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Antonio Mora. I'm a civil engineer with Stantec Consulting, representing the Markley Group and the 2 Prince Ave, 1 Markley Way project. If you permit me, I'll post the plans up on the easel for everybody to review.
Sure.
Give me a second here to set it up there. So before I present the project, actually, I think it'd be beneficial to go through a brief history, because I know this project's been before the board several times, and I wanted to kind of give a quick recap of some of the more recent history. So as was mentioned in the agenda item, this project was before this board back in 2020 for a site plan modification, and at that time, one of the modifications that was incorporated into the site plan was this proposed Building 4, which was an addition that was going to be attached to the big Building 1 that you see on the graphic over there. That, along with several other site amenities, were improved back in 2020, and as well as being before the planning board for that approval, we were also before the Conservation Commission at the same time, or similar time. Since then, there have been some modifications to the site plan that have been envisioned for a few reasons. The main reason that the site plan is being modified this evening is because the envision for Building 4, the need for Building 4 to be constructed hasn't really come to fruition from Markley, and so there isn't really a need to construct it. However, we do still have an open order of conditions with the Concom, so that's the other reason that we are making these modifications, is that there's an obligation to construct some of the site improvements, the parking areas that were originally envisioned in that 2020 plan. However, we'd like to make some modifications to the site plan just in light of Building 4 no longer being part of the site plan. We'd like to make some modifications. And so we were before the Conservation Commission earlier this summer to present this version of the plan without Building 4, and the parking area is substantially similar. The main change is just a revised configuration in the parking area, which was primarily more rectangular. As you can see now, the parking area is much more curvilinear. If you'd like, I can go to the board and point that out. Building 4, as was approved in 2020, was actually attached to this Building 1 here. That is no longer.
Excuse me just a moment. If you could just press the button and that'll turn green. There you go. You're on now.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you. So as I mentioned, Building 4 was originally envisioned to be attached to Building 1, kind of in this general area. And in 2020, that plan was approved with a parking area that was more sort of rectangular. This corner here was kind of more squared off. There was a much smaller surface stormwater basin in the corner. This revised plan with Building 4 gone allows us to have a little bit more compact parking area, still have adequate parking for the site, but it allows us to give it a little bit more green space, a much larger surface stormwater basin, as well as a subsurface stormwater basin. All of that has been approved by Conservation as we got our approval this past summer, and we have an obligation to complete those site improvements between now and essentially September of 2024. Once we completed our Concom modification process, we were informed that we needed to come back to Planning Board to discuss these modifications with the Planning Board. So we were actually before the board in September, as you may recall. And at that time, we were still sort of holding up, a hope that we could preserve the site plan that had the Building 4 in the site plan, as well as, other site improvements that had been originally approved back in 2020. We were informed that we can't have two separate plans of record at that hearing, and we went back to the drawing board and worked as a team to kind of come up with a sort of a hybrid plan that incorporates many of the elements that were approved in the previous 2020 plan, but also now account for the fact that we're not going to be building Building 4 and want to build this modified parking area. So that is essentially the presentation. I'm happy to hand it over to any questions that may be by the board or anybody in the audience. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to be heard on behalf of the applicant? Okay, thank you. At this point in time, I'll open up the public. Anybody here like to speak in favor of this project? Anyone in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. Anybody in opposition? Yes, just come to the microphone and state your name and address, please.
My name is Nancy Forts. I live at 36 Iowa Street. I had a question about where that access road goes down. It looks like it comes out toward Prince Ave. Does it?
Yes, sir, if you can answer, please.
Sure. So to answer your question, yes, that the access that goes out to Iowa Street was actually approved in the original 2020 plan. So that's one of the parts of the 2020 plan that is being modified under this plan. We still intend to construct that at some point when needed. Largely, that's there in the event that the generators that are currently installed at the south of the building, if they ever need to be replaced or worked on, is to allow for vehicles to access provide that means. Right now, that area is all landscaped, and there's no immediate plan to construct it. It's an emergency access. It's a historic access point that's always been there off of Iowa Street, and something that the park would like to maintain going forward if possible, but we recognize it's currently landscaped, and to the extent that we can, leave it landscaped, but if there's ever a need for maintenance of those generators or need to have that access, we want to reserve the right to have that access.
Well, years ago, when it did have historically the access to Prince Macaroni for the train and for parking, there weren't that many cars parked on Prince Ave. Now you have a mess of cars on Prince Ave to the extent that every once in a while we have an issue with the trash company trying to get up to Iowa Street because there's so many parked cars in the way. And I don't see how, when people are, that place is fully rented, those row houses and everything, people have more than one car for each apartment. They have probably 3 or 4. They park double spaced, double across where the tracks used to be that went into Prince. Plus they park on both sides of Prince Ave. And I, even with my car, have a hard time to make it down Iowa Street and around Prince Ave so I can go out to Moore Street. How are they going to get anything in there, even a fire truck? Fire trucks can't get in there. If there's an emergency, they can't get in there. So how can they maintain or an emergency for those generators? There has to be something done about the parking. There has to be, because it is an issue that's going on now, and they don't have the entrance out there, whether it's in the future or not. That has to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else like to speak in opposition?
I don't know if there is somebody coming before you. I'm actually on remote. This is Jake Forts. I'm at 36 Iowa Street. I'm on Zoom. Unfortunately, because of the bandwidth issues that I have today, I can pop on briefly if you want to see video. Here I am, but it's going to degrade the whole thing. So let me just get my point across. So in follow-up to presentation that was done in September, at that time we had a conversation about basically Markley Group and how they keep on changing their plans around. Now, as had been mentioned by the other individual who's here tonight from representing Stantec from Markley, that entryway was put in that corner as an emergency entrance, but it was never really agreed to by the neighborhood, and it's always kind of been fought back and forth. However, the fact that they had an opportunity to go back and fix their plans and present new ones to you tonight, that is a little bit disconcerting that it is still there. Because as I had brought up before, they already have an emergency egress that's off of Prince Ave. And as the other individual who just spoke, Nancy just spoke, that egress that's already there has problems with the parking that's attached to it. But the solution of that, as I mentioned at the last meeting, could be that the Markley Group has bought property around the Markley company. They've just used the shell company to do it. They're aware of it. We know that they know that I'm aware of it. And as one of their people, Mr. Eliades, used to go and say before you guys, oh, he's just looking to sell the house and, you know, get out of here. Did that happen? I'm still here. I'm still before you. So that was never the intent, but that was what they led you to believe. So now we've got a problem. They want to change the emergency entrance to the corner of Prince Ave and Iowa Street, but it's not just for that reason. Their current entrance cannot actually accommodate all of the heavy equipment that they are planning to bring into that site. They already had a problem with it. Their solution would be to put the entryway at the corner of Prince Ave and Iowa Street because that gives them direct access to that access road so that they can go around and deal with it. I don't trust the Markley Group. They've lied all along since they've come to town, and that will continue to happen because tonight, how many of you have reviewed the plans, the updated plans, and compared them? How many on the board have done that? The reason why I'm asking is because there's site plan modifications that are outside the scope of just being a parking lot. So again, the Markley Group has done it here. If you look to the northwest corner of their new site plan, there is a new construction up the back. That wasn't in the original site plan ever. And this is right along the boundary, not quite within the boundary of the brook, but there's something about a transformer station that suddenly popped up there. That's new. And they're trying to squeeze this into the approval for a parking lot. I was told previously by somebody in my district that this is just nothing but a parking lot situation, so I don't understand what the big fuss is. It is more than a parking lot. They've changed their entrance. Why is the entrance already under construction? Why is the meeting rooms already under construction? Construction has already begun. This tells me that this planning board is either, you know, in cahoots with them, or why the planning department hasn't done anything to shut that construction down because you haven't approved this modification. I'm at a loss for words. And the fact that I need to remote in to this meeting while I'm on business travel just annoys me to no end. The amount of shady stuff that's been allowed to go on here, once again, with this new plan, has been proven. There's a modification in there that they're trying to slip in. Why isn't that being addressed? Why is this being allowed to happen? Their narrative for what they're seeking before the board tonight is not what they're actually presenting to you. There's other changes in those plans.
Anything further, Jake?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Yes, just come to the microphone, state your name and address, please.
Hi, hi. My name is Eileen Castle, and I live at 64 Otis Street. I'm sure you'll remember me. I live right next door to the water towers that they have. So I'm here for several items I'd like to discuss. I'd like to discuss the fact that I want to know if the water towers are, the second one is appearing on the plans because that was not supposed to be built until they come back to you because you said no. I could probably reach out and touch it if they hadn't put their big black fence up, which is fine because I can't see what they're doing and I don't have to worry about it. They have added new cooling towers down below where the old ones were. They've added more. I have another question before I go on. I'd like to know why we didn't get another message telling us that this was coming up. I knew that it was postponed, but if they're making all these changes and ads, I'd like to know why they didn't have to send out to the abutters. I think that that should happen. I don't think that anybody should be able to do this in this manner. So the cooling towers are there, and when I leave in the morning, I know the mist from the cooling towers is supposed to go up in the atmosphere and be dissipated. Well, when I walk out in the morning, it feels like I'm being rained on some days. It's a misty rain, but it's a rain. My car windshield is wet, and I would like to know if anybody has even investigated what this could do to the neighborhood. We have. I mean, there's people higher up than I am, and they're probably getting the same moisture being brought down onto the ground. So I guess maybe EPA needs to get involved and figure out what that's all about. The transformers down the end, Jake just spoke about them. They have a whole new set of them. The people that live down there, I haven't heard from them. I did try to get in touch with them, but with such short notice, I didn't have a chance to do that. But I do plan on letting everybody know again. I want to know if the transformers are down there. We had to go to council to approve fuel to run those transformers. Does that mean that we're going to have to store more fuel again? Is that going to come up later on? Because that's how this all works. They come to you, try to get permission from you, and then they go to the council to get permission to do the other things that they want to do. I wanted to know, the last time you spoke to them, you told them to get the fence fixed down on Andrew Street. That's never been done. It's still not completed. I feel that I wanted to know, has anybody inspected the fire lane since the first time or the last time they inspected them? The fire lane should be, everybody should know about the fire lanes. There should be nothing that isn't, and we should know when it's inspected. I do know the water from the cooling towers, those are supposed to be inspected every so often. Do they have a plan for that? Who inspects them? How do we know that everything's okay? I'm just at the point where I just don't know what to do about it. So I don't know who else I can talk to. I've tried. This is the best I can do. I'm not sure I'm very good at all this stuff, but you got my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else like to speak in opposition?
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Coles, and I live at 7 Bourne Street, and I'm just here in support of Mr. Jake, Miss Nancy, and Miss Eileen. They have already stated their points, and I live within a very close vicinity as to Markley, just down the street from Miss Eileen. So I just want to say that I'm here in support of their questions and their comments because that's in a very close vicinity to where I'm living, and I would like to know responses to their questions and comments as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Anybody else? Anybody else? Opposition? 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 Hearing none, we'll turn it over to the board members.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes, Mr. Fischel?
So what would have been extremely helpful from the last meeting and to the question of the notification, unfortunately, the prior meeting was continued, and when public hearing is continued, there are no further notices, unfortunately, to the abutters, so I know that becomes a little bit difficult as far as staying on top of when the meeting is going to be rescheduled and when the meeting is going to take place. But what I would like to know is the engineer at this point, is what would have been extremely helpful, because I think what we discovered at the last meeting as well is there were various sets of plans with different modifications, and there was some question as to what was previously approved, and I really would like to have almost a side-by-side, almost like when you're, you know, when somebody's requesting a variance and they're asking for relief and they're saying, this is what we're providing, this is what is required. I really would like to have the set of plans that you had your concrete approval, and then what was the modification to the plan, and then what's your hybrid? So what did you keep from that? Have you added anything other than the parking into this modified plan?
I can go over that. I actually
All right.
have the old boards there, so if you...
If you could, because it would be extremely helpful, because I'll be honest with you, I can't follow, other than the parking, I can't follow where we are right now.
I'm going to go...
Peter, how difficult would it, do we have the actual approved plans from 2020 that? Yeah. You can't access, yeah.
And I'll kind of emphasize, Jerry, I asked for that at the last time that the Markley Group were in front of us, that there be a side-by-side comparison
Yeah,
of the approved
exactly.
plan and the proposed plan.
Because it's a complex site, there's a lot going on, and they're asking for us to approve the modification, a hybrid of it. I'd like to know exactly what changed.
So on the left here, I don't want to block the view here. On the left is the previously approved plan. You'll notice the rectangular parking area. We are modifying that to this more curvilinear parking area. It's not labeled, but the Building 4 addition is this sort of grayer color building addition that's in this location. You'll notice here it's no longer here. The generators, we have a generator yard in the rear. Generator yard still located. There is a future substation plan, so that is a difference. So I apologize if I didn't point that out.
That's new, that's not the parking that was added.
Correct. Again, this represents sort of the master plan of what they intend to build. The driveway that was spoke of earlier, that was approved back in 2020, you can see that driveway was previously approved, and it still remains here. One thing that is not in the plan that was previously approved was a guard shack here at the end of Markley Way. That's not in the plans, you know, that may at some point get built in the future, but it's not in the plans right now. The chillers that were spoke about are still here. There may be a few more, just because of whatever products that are available on the market. You know, so the quantity of chillers might be different than what was previously
So
approved.
that's larger, right?
Correct.
That covers a
Yep.
great area. And what are those again, I'm sorry?
They're chillers. I'm not familiar with what they are exactly. They're used to, they're cooling towers essentially.
Yeah, no, I mean, the climate control is very important for what you're doing in there, I understand that.
Correct. As far as the water tower that was mentioned, again, we have a space for the future water tower. I don't know of any plans in the near term to construct it, but again, it was envisioned to be built at some point in the future, and that remains to be the case. So I don't think there's any immediate plans to build it, but at some point it may be necessary. I think that's basically the changes, and you can kind of see them side by side. So again, previously approved plan on the left, What we're currently asking for is on the right. And again, we incorporated many of the elements that were previously approved. You'll notice actually the parking, that's one other thing I didn't mention, was there was a lot more parking approved at the rear of whatever this street is here.
Right, coming from the Andrews Street.
Yeah, exactly. There was a lot more parking proposed there, but because we don't need building 4 anymore, we don't need the parking as well. So we only have the requisite number of spaces that we need for the buildings that are shown on site. So we only have 3 spaces or so planned in the back here. There was talk of a fence. We are planning to extend the security fence around and kind of close this area of the site that has remained uncompleted. We will intend to complete that area with security fence as part of our new plan, as well as a gate at that entrance as well.
So is the security fence new to the plan as far as extending it?
Correct. Yes. So the security fence, I believe, ends somewhere around here, and we're proposing to extend it all the way around. So.
She said what the second one in town was already built, was it?
The timing on the improvements that we show on here, those are sort of more in the future. Those aren't sort of going to get constructed immediately. What I wanted to focus on was that the work that is inside this green line, which is the 100-foot buffer zone to the Conservation Commission, that's what we're sort of obligated to construct by next fall. So that's sort of the primary focus. And
Understood, but
the
similar to
immediate
what we're talking with the access road, right? You put those elements in, we came in here, you talk about the parking, and then if we approve it, then, geez, it was part of the approval, even though that's.
Correct, and the intent is that, we're focusing more on the stuff that's going to get built in sort of the immediate future,
Right.
in the next year. These elements were sort of always in the approved plan in some form, and yes, there may be some tweaks, but the actual construction that you'll see over the next several months is going to be focused in this area here of the parking area, really. The work here inside this buffer zone needs to be constructed before September. So that's the work that's largely going to get constructed. That and the fence is sort of the 2 pieces that we're going to get done.
Can I ask a quick question? So in all of this, if you approve this, then all of these changes are 100% approved, are they not? So if we don't deal with all of the other stuff now, you're giving them a blank check to just basically do the rest of it, right?
Well, that's why we're discussing it, sir. And that's why we've asked the question. Yes. The access, that access road for emergency purpose, I mean, you put the generators in there without that access. And I will tell you, if you visited that site, I mean, I understand what everybody's saying. Cars are parked in the middle, on each side. It's a tough location. And
I actually wasn't part of that part of the project, so I don't know how the generators
Understood.
got in there, but I'm assuming they came in from that area. I don't know.
Well, how does the land, so if we had a present existing conditions right now, can you show us a sheet? Do you have the existing conditions so we can show what's there right now with the landscaping there? That would be helpful. Yeah, look at that area where that access road is, because we did have the landscaping, we spent a lot of time on that, so that provides some screening for the residents there, and...
This actually might show it. This is the board I had.
Yeah, I think that's probably more in line with what we're looking at.
That area, I don't know the rest of it, but this area is
Then it was built up.
a green area right now.
Yeah, so, given that, I mean, I would be more inclined to move forward on this new plan, not having that in there, and if it's something that's needed in the future, then we can properly address it with the conditions that will exist at that time. But to have that, something that's out there for, you know, in approval, that once you start the work, you know, we got 24 months, once we approve it, once you start doing the work, you've already completed it, and it's somewhere down the road, who knows what the conditions are gonna be, and then you're gonna put that access road. It's a tight area. It's just a very tight area. That may be fine, but we're talking about it this evening with what's being presented before us, and I really do think that, really looking at the existing conditions around there, I would feel better that it would be addressed when and if you feel it's, your client feels it's necessary, then we could probably look at it under the present conditions at that point.
Is it possible to have it as a condition of approval that it remains in the plan, and then when it's needed, we would come back to the board to inform the board and have another conversation about all that's happening in the Iowa Street? Because clearly all that stuff is sort of out of our purview, and whatever parking conditions are existing here, we really don't have control over it, but...
No, but access and egress is the purview of this board.
You know, when we approved it, we spent several hours on it, with a lot of neighbor input. We actually went up there and we visited the site more than once. We were on the site twice, walked through the whole thing, discussed about the way going in. And then when you come back in September, Ms. Galvin said, could you give us a plan side by side so we could look at them prior to tonight's meeting? We didn't get that. I asked you if you're gonna have the back fire exit way open on Andrew Street for tonight's meeting. You didn't do that. So we come here, and you're throwing us those two screens. We have a screen here, there are 25 different modifications on the plan, some back in 15, some in 18, some in 20, some in 23, and not showing us side by side which is which. So as Jerry said before, so basically it's pretty hard for us to understand what you're really asking for and what we've already gave you. And you came in last time and said, well, we want to keep what we have, but we want to take this on an interim basis, use this, then we'll convert back to the old one. Now you're kind of asking us to do the same thing that we approved before. Well, approve it now, and then we'll deal with it later, but give us conditional approval, and then we come back, we'll tell you, you already approved it, but we don't know what we're approving. Isn't that kind of sum it up?
No, what we want approved is been submitted to the board, so it's in the plan sets that you have in your hand. So the plans that we want approved are in your hand, and it shows all the things you just asked for. They're in
We
the
asked you if we
plan
could see
set.
the side by side, which we didn't get. So, you know, a little cooperation goes a long way. So. Right, I mean, how long have we been waiting for that back Andrew Street fire exit to open up? 2018, 20? And we were told every meeting would be done. I emphasized it in September. I'm sure it didn't take that long to do it. I'm sure you could build one of those cooling towers a lot, it seems like that can be done quicker than you can to open up the back entrance. So,
I might be referencing the wrong item, but there's a letter that's dated from May of 2021 asking to extend like that fence, and this is from Stantec, to extend that fence construction and completion from May of 2021 to August to 2021. So I'm trying to understand, because a neighbor brought it up today, if that's the fence that we're talking about, that was in an original plan, said it would be complete in 2021 and is still not complete.
I know the fence has been ongoing for quite some time, and it unfortunately predates my involvement, so I can't really speak to it. I do know that there are sections that are incomplete, and we're looking to try to complete that as part of this project, so
Yeah, it's
that's
just
all I
like,
can
that's
say.
like from 2.5 years ago.
yeah, and we've asked for things to be done right along and haven't been completed. I mean, whether it's you or your predecessors, it's still the same project, and we're still the same one sitting here. You know, you come in and ask for things, we give you an extension, give you a date, gets ignored. I wonder why the neighbor's upset.
I have a few, I have a few questions if I
Sure,
can.
go ahead, Sinead. Yep.
So I'm curious, I know that the access to Prince Ave was approved in a previous plan. I'm curious if you can describe a little bit if it's required by code, because I know you're saying it would be a future condition. So I'm just trying to understand if it's required to have that access or if it's just more desirable as the owner.
I'm not aware of any code per se. I do know there is an existing access easement on the book, so it is a historical access and there is an easement in place. I'm not aware of any code reasons. I don't believe it's needed, like code-wise, for fire. I believe our plans that we submitted show a fire access coming from Markley Way, and we can access the entire campus from Markley Way. So I don't believe it's necessary for firefighting purposes or code-wise. It really is an emergency sort of maintenance access road.
Yeah, it just seems like there's obviously a problematic street condition there that the neighbors have brought up. I know we've discussed it before. So I'm just trying to, I know, again, this is like years of conversation and different approvals, but just trying to, if it's not required and it's creating a problematic condition and the condition isn't improved, should it really be there? So that's one of my comments. My second comment is I actually see the substation as a pretty impactful change, not knowing what the visual impact of that would be, what the height is, what the views from the neighboring residences would be. It's right on the property line, so I'm curious if you can describe that more and maybe ask for more detail.
It's really conceptual at this stage, so I don't really have more detail to show. It may never even happen. It's one of those things.
Yeah, I
I
am
don't
just a
know.
little frustrated that you keep saying things may never happen because you're here for approval. So anything
No,
on
I know.
plans
We're
are-
we're here to be as transparent as we can be on what we know at the time. So we don't want to be accused of hiding anything from you. So we want to be forthcoming. And so this is what our envision for the site is. And so there are parts of the project that have an immediate need and will be built immediately. There are parts of the project that we want to share with you, make you aware of them, want to get your approval for them, but they're not really going to be built in the near future.
Yeah.
Similar to this building 4. This building 4 was permitted back in 2020, and here we are in 2023. We're still not envisioning it being built. That's not saying that it won't at some point in the future be required. And then when it is required, we'll come back before the board and present again. And I think that's kind of when I was getting to the condition of approval prior was, when it comes to such time as we do need these elements, we can gladly come back to the board and open up the conversation again.
Yeah,
So-
but if they're on the plan, then they're under our review tonight, so
Understood.
I think we both understand.
Understood.
I do see the substation without more information as, like, I'm not comfortable approving that in that location without more information. I do think that will have potential, or a large impact to the neighbors, especially given its location. So that's just one piece I wanted to point out.
Thank you, Sinead.
Yeah, thank you, that's all.
Caleb, any questions?
So I will concur with my fellow members is that I understand it's up to the applicant to present what you want us to approve, but at the same time, once you ask for approval, we need to scrutinize those details and look at the impacts. So you cannot say, oh, I haven't think through it, and then I'm just going to present you an outline, and you can just approve it, because we have to look at the same thing to make a decision. So you can leave the entrance in there, you can leave the substation in there, but we will need to look at what actually you propose, even if it is a placeholder with details, because if you just leave an outline there, I mean, we're not approving the outline, obviously. So I think Member Galvin mentioned about the visual impact. We would like to look at that. And also, like, if you leave in the emergency access, which I know you're not using right now, we do have to look at the traffic issues and parking issue, even though it's not on your parcel, but you'll be using the access. And I think the city might need to look at the parking situation there. As neighbor has mentioned, there is a problem. I mean, even, maybe even without like your access road there, but if you're going to put an access road there, we need to look at that as well. So I think like you might want to talk to applicant, talk with the client and say that if you want to add that access, then this will be in review. So there might be some responsibility or some part of responsibility that your client might have to address that part of access as well, so that there is an access, because obviously I'm sure your client want to use that access if they want to access from there. Whereas if there is car park all over the place, now either the fire truck or your maintenance trucks can't go in, then what's the point? So I think it would be important, doing side-by-side notwithstanding, I think a red line version might even be better if they overlay so we can clearly see what's changed. Notwithstanding, I think it's important to go through each of the changes again and think through whether it is something that your client would like us to, wants you to engineer it first, and then so that we can review, rather than, well, we don't know whether we want this or not, but for future plans or what ifs, we want to leave it in there, but haven't really engineering out, and that give us a hard time to do the review. So I think in addition to the side-by-side comparison, rethink through, and I'm not saying you haven't, but whether substation is the right ask at this moment. I mean, you are certainly welcome to come back when the substation is needed and make another modification, and we will look at the substation impact then. But if you don't have details now, we can't really do much with it. So redoing those exercise with the substation, with the access, with the extra cooling towers, and also I noticed there on the southern row of generators, there's a little extra pad on the left as well, right?
Yeah, this is not the right plan. So
Oh, okay.
this was just, I was just having this to show the existing condition.
Sure.
This is what's reflected in the drawings that were submitted to you guys.
Okay. So there's a pad on the left as well, where the woodland buffer is, or
Right here?
that one, yes.
That's an existing loading dock,
Okay.
so that's all that is. It's
Oh, so it's still, is it covered or is it
no,
open?
no, it's not covered.
So the only thing difference is that it's just colored in, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's just a hatch pattern. We are regrading it because right now there is a loading dock there currently. It's a little too steep. We're going to be regrading it, but
Got
it's
it.
a loading dock today. It's going to be a loading dock in the future. We are doing some minor regrading, but again, because it's within the 100-foot buffer, we want to make sure that we get that
Okay.
area prepped and built. And I understand, there's been a lot of talk about items that we're really not building in the near future, so I don't want to derail the conversation. Our main focus, and if we can try to get an approval from you tonight on the parking area in here and the generator area, all the work within this green line, essentially, we do need to get that under construction soon. That is what we are definitely going to be building that over the next year, hopefully with an approval from you guys tonight. I understand there's a lot of talk about whatever happens with this substation. That is purely conceptual at this stage. There's no hard and fast plans. This is just something that may happen. And again, it's an issue of just trying to be transparent with you folks. If you don't mind a quick sidebar, I can just check with my client to see if he wants to reevaluate his option here at this entrance here. And again, our main goal tonight is to try to get an approval from the planning board on the parking lot modifications, and that's where I'm trying to focus the attention on. And I apologize for any confusion that our sort of master plan level thinking has been causing tonight, but it wasn't the intention. We really wanted to just try to get a focus on this area here. But let me give you. You'll indulge me with a few minutes.
One
with my
question
client.
before.
Sure.
Is the substation going to be enclosed or is it going to be open?
Again, I don't have any of
You
these
don't know.
answers. It's
Okay.
purely, calling it a cartoon is probably an insult to a cartoon at this point. It's just a placeholder. So.
Okay.
All right.
Can you hear me on it? So, a couple things. I'd like to start by saying I think that Markley is willing to reconsider their position on that emergency access drive off Prince Ave, and I think we can defer that. And, if the board is okay with us not proceeding with that part of the project, we can certainly accept that as a condition of approval. Regarding the fence, I apologize, I don't have the history on the extension of the fence, but I have Jeff Flanagan here from the Markley Group, who does have some history and can speak to some of those details. So I'll introduce Jeff Flanagan.
Hi, I'm Jeff Flanagan with Markley Group. I just wanted to address the comments on the letters about the fence. Because that fence was completed. This was in another area. If I could point that out.
Peter, just a quick question. Is that microphone on at the podium? Is it? Okay.
Anything else, sir?
I don't have anything else, though.
Okay. I think someone had a question in the rear? Yeah. If you could just come to the microphone, please, so we can hear you. Thank you.
So I would like to ask the question about the Andrew Street access. That was a fire access. Because it was supposed to go around the building and it was supposed to be able to go out that way so that the Lawrence Street Fire Department could get in that access. That has never been done and they can't get in. So I just wanted to make that clear. And I wanted to know about the substation because that's down in that area, I believe. From what I can see, I'm not very good at all these plans, but from what I could see, that substation is down there. And I have no idea what that could possibly be for or done. A guard shack, I don't know I didn't see anything about a guard shack. This is the first time I've heard about it. They already have one. I don't know why they need a second one or where it's going. And could you address the larger chillers? Why do we need that many more when we already have them and they're going and causing issues anyway? And why can't they list? Why can't Markley list, or Stantec, I'm sorry, list all of the changes they're making so that you can look at something and see and address what they're doing. This is what we're doing, this is what we're, where we're doing it, so that ordinary people can at least come in. And I'm not opposed to anything that to new commerce. I'm not opposed to any of it. What I'm opposed to is that somebody coming into the neighborhood and doing what they want to do or not telling us what they're doing and then just do what they want to do and coming here and not telling us the exact things that are going on. So this is what I'm asking and to see if we can figure out what is really going to happen. Because we keep coming back here year after year after year, and it's always the same thing. This is what we want, but we're going to do this later on. So I would appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I think some of the board members and myself asked the same question. We want to see the list of what they're proposing, what was approved, and what is new coming in. I'm still not 100% sure what they're asking. And they're asking us to approve stuff that they may do or may not do. So we're going to say, yeah, we voted for it, but we're not sure what they're going to do with it.
Our cover letter that we submitted with the original approval sort of describes what the changes are that we're seeking approval for tonight. And as I mentioned,
Now, so which approval was that, when you submitted that? That was when? I'm just looking through everything that was sent to DPW. The Planning and Development, excuse me. Yeah.
yeah, our original cover letter described the changes that we were proposing to the site plan, and they're largely centered around the parking area. And we have obviously the discussion of the removal of Building 4.
So the question is, you tell us the letter, you come in, I think we asked for a plan, one plan existing, what you want to show us, go through it step by step, give us a list, we'll go through it piece by piece, and then we can decide. And that's basically not what's happening. So we're supposed to just kind of throw it against the wall, let it stick, guess on a few things, guess on a few other things, and maybe approve it. I mean, so basically, if we vote for it, I think, at the end of the night, I'm not gonna know what I voted for. Because you say, well, we might do this, we might not do it, but we'll let you know later. I think if something's come before us, you say, there's a set of plans, these are new plans, that's what we want to have changed, go step by step, then definitively, we know what the new criteria is, the neighbor knows what the new criteria is. Kind of lost right now, trying to figure out what may be done and what not, except for you want to put that in, because Concom is, the clock is ticking. So, I think we need more details, we asked for it back in September, we didn't get it. I mean, you know, spell it out. Well, I don't know, we had a timetable on the opening on Andrew Street, that's been totally ignored. I raised that question in September, totally ignored. So, I don't know.
What was that last point again? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. So the last point you just said, I didn't hear it.
I said, back in September, I asked about the fire exit gate on Andrew Street. I said, I'd like to see it for the next meeting.
It's in the plans, the fire access?
I know it's been the plans, and we've been told that in 2020, before you were here. We were told that in 2018 and 22. It's in the plans, it's in the plans, it's in the plans.
It's on sheet
Ms.
L1.
Galvin read a letter that we gave an extension for another year. That's been ignored.
It's on sheet L102, so it's been submitted to the board. You have that plan in the plan
So-
that was provided to the planning board.
So, do
Sheet
you
L102
have any
of the
idea
plans.
when that may be done?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you have any idea when the opening gate on Andrew Street will be for the fire access, when that will be done?
You're looking for a date?
Yeah, like we gave you before and before and before. Which we gave dates, and we gave extension dates, and nothing seems to happen.
So Chair, my understanding is that that's a condition of approval.
Correct. And we've asked for it.
Correct, and if the permit gets approved, it's valid for, is it 2 years? So it would have to get built within that 2-year window, correct?
But it hasn't been, and it's been over 2 years.
But if it were to get approved tonight, I guess is what I'm saying. If it were to get approved tonight, it would be 2 years from tonight we would have to complete it. And if we don't complete it, we'd have to come back to the board to get it completed.
So
My understanding?
That's a little strange because that's the condition for the last approval.
Right.
So,
It was the approval in 2020.
so it's not like if we approve it tonight, it was make it, you have another extension, right? Because you haven't fulfilled the last approval conditions yet. So it's kind of strange to ask us for another approval even before you meet the conditions for the last approval, right?
Right, exactly. And I think Ms. Galvin read a letter that said we extended it a year back in 20 or 21. I mean, it's not a big job. But we were told to be taken care of quickly. Well, I don't know. Any of the board members have any further questions?
Well, just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, I think your number one priority is that parking, which you did receive approval from Conservation Commission, is that correct?
That's correct.
So is that the parking configuration, you're actually eliminating some of the impervious surface, you're adding some more?
Correct. We're adding
Landscape
we're adding
area.
some more green space.
I mean, I would be, based on your discussion with your client, and I appreciate that, the offer, I would be comfortable to say, look at the parking that you're looking to address this fall. You've gone through conservation. I think it's actually, there's some positive things happening with that. So, but I would say that the other modifications that you've put into the, as you call, hybrid modification, and I get it, trying to get the kind of the master plan approved, I would rather not approve any of those modifications at this stage, and with the elimination of the emergency access road, and really, if the need arises, and then we'd have to really take a look at, traffic engineer take a look at the existing conditions at that point, but I would have no problem in giving you at least, from speaking for myself, giving you an approval on the parking is what you're looking to accomplish this fall. Well, here we are in December, but that's your number one priority. I just think we're lacking detail on the substation, even the cooling elements. But I think on Andrew, that access road too, and I appreciate just recognizing the sensitivity of that. And if there's a true need for that, then this board can revisit that at that time. And so
Yeah.
I would be comfortable going forward with something like that.
I appreciate that. That would certainly be helpful, given that we have a timeline that we're trying to hit for September of 2024. That would
No, and that's a positive thing, that the parking area is a positive element.
Yeah, and one thing I want to clarify, it's not just the parking area, it's within I don't know if you can see that green line, the 100-foot.
Yes, yeah, no, that wraps around to where,
Anything that's within the realm of the Conservation Commission.
yeah,
that
understood.
Is what we would need to get completed.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, which kind of then took you up to the substation where, like I said.
It just misses the substation.
Yeah, it just
That's the
stops
question.
before
So
that,
It
yeah,
stops
so-
before that, that's clearly outside of it, so, but it would be inclusive of the parking lot.
Yep.
And there's a retaining wall for that generator pad area up against the river there that is within Concom jurisdiction. That
Sure.
does need to get completed. So
Sure.
I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't just the parking area.
Right.
It did include that area. Oh, and the loading dock. Yeah, the loading dock does also clip, the loading dock we mentioned.
Yeah, well, you're regrading that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could point it out on the plan for clarification if you need.
Yeah, no, I've actually been at that loading dock when they were selling used office furniture in that building.
Yeah, so it's this whole parking lot.
Yep.
Anything inside this sort of
Yep.
line up to here.
Yep, no, understood. Understood. All right, so that's speaking for myself, I would be comfortable moving forward this evening on something.
I have a question for the board, or maybe for Peter. Just, there's obviously been confusion from our board, from the applicant, from the neighbors about what's being approved and what's not. So I'm just curious, like I would be more comfortable if there was a plan that we were approving tonight and not just saying, okay, this area is generally approved. So I personally would be more comfortable if there was a revised plan that reflected that. So I'm just curious how that would work if we're approving part of the plan but not the entire thing, or can we do that?
Well,
I would hate for the future to come and to say, well, this plan was approved on December 4th, 2023, but in reality, we might have only approved part of it.
With site plan review, we can approve it with conditions. Matter of fact, very hard to deny site plan review, we can approve it with conditions. So that would be the conditions, where we would be not approving the substation, the cooling units, also eliminating the roadway access, and then the other elements are
Okay.
what's on the
So
plan.
just-
But obviously, again, we could ask for them to submit a revised plan as well.
Okay.
But at beginning end, that would be a conditional approval of site plan review.
That would be preferable, and again, if there's ever a need in the future for us to come back to discuss those other items, we can come back. But our immediate need is to, as mentioned,
But that would be in the conditions.
Yeah.
But again, if you feel more comfortable with the plan, it's
I would
what the
be,
wish of the body is.
yeah, just for, I don't know, conversation or comment, I would be more comfortable if the condition said that they have to submit a plan that reflects that. So almost like a second layer, not to come back to us, but to make sure that what the plan on record is actually what we're approving, if that makes sense.
That's, well,
we
EPD should
can
be
do that.
making
We'll
sure that's
submit a
what
plan
happens.
that shows the areas that we intend to construct under this permit.
I think from the department's perspective, if the applicant is able to do this, to just submit a plan that does not have the changes outside of the green dashed line and only keep the changes inside the green dashed line. Is that something that is possible?
Yeah, it's a little bit more than just the green dash line. but
Sorry,
yes,
yeah.
it includes the whole parking lot, which is, part of it's in the green dash line.
Okay.
Part of it's out, so it's a little more nebulous than that. But
Sure, okay.
It's generally the parking lot and the retaining wall around the generator yard, the loading dock. That is essentially what we need.
And then let's not lose sight of the fact, we are agreeing this evening of eliminating that drive, which was not even something that you're proposing as the hybrid, which was on the plan previous.
Correct.
I just want to make sure that that's part of the element, so.
Correct.
Yeah.
So a question on the drive. So like right now, how many fire emergency access do you have right now currently?
How many access points?
Yes.
I believe it comes out on there's two. There's one on Andrews at the far right of the plan on the top right. And the Markley Way entrance. The main entrance are our two main entrances.
Okay, and then the fencing and gate that is in question, where is that located again?
Oh, I can point that out.
By Andrew Street, yeah.
Yeah, down
So that's part of the emergency
lower,
access?
the lower, right,
Right
Yep, around
Yeah.
that corner, yep.
the entrance to eliminate is down to the southwest
To the southwest,
area,
yep.
right there.
I understand.
This is the emergency access
Yeah.
that currently isn't built, but, we've been discussing tonight, and we will remove that
Right.
for consideration.
So the condition was the emergency access will need a gate.
No, eliminate.
Eliminate. the gate.
Eliminate. It's no longer on the
Eliminate,
plan.
yeah. Okay, no
Yeah.
longer on the plan.
No longer on the plan. That would be what I would be looking at as a condition.
Yeah, we just need to be very clear what we're approving because don't want to instill any more confusion in the process.
It's whatever the wish of the body is, but either way, that's, if we want them to come back with a new plan, that's what I want the plan to look like, so.
I'll be more comfortable to wait for a plan. I'm not sure how the timing works out. I mean, and also I think having a plan will be helpful for the abutters to review as well. I think we're just talking over the air right now will be a little bit confusing, to say the very least.
I think that we owe it to the neighbors to get a clear plan and have a plan that's approved and not conditional. That's my opinion.
I agree. I think we should have a revised plan. I think, as Caleb says, there's so much confusion when it come back. I mean, we've approved things in the past that haven't been done. Now we're picking one part to say we're gonna approve this, we're gonna eliminate that. I think come back with a new plan, pinpoint it all out, let us know. I think we tried to ask for that last time to make it clear. I don't think we got exactly what we were looking for. So I'd like to see the revised plan, and then they come back with it, and just say at this time, we're only looking for the parking, we're only looking for the loading dock area in that area, and none of the other stuff, they will know exactly what they're requesting to be done. But now, I think there's a lot of questions to be, like I say, for the residents, myself, and as well as a few other of the board members. I mean, so I'd be more comfortable with the revised plan. To know exactly what everything's gonna be. So I'll make a motion that the applicant come back before the board with a revised plan for approval.
Before we get to that motion, can I just get a sense of when that would be? Because if we're continued,
Yep, I
to another
understand.
hearing, which is a week from now, that's fine, but if it's another 3 months, that might not be good. So I think I was really, comforted to hear that condition of approval would be something that we could proceed with, that would allow us to at least get an approval on the portions of the work that need to proceed. If we have to wait 3 months for another approval, that starts to cut into the construction schedule, and we're going to be up against it, I think. So if there's any way that we could go back to the condition of approval scenario, we will be happy to submit any clarification about what we're intending to build and what's sort of not going to get built by September of 2024. We'll clarify that, but if we could do that with a condition of approval, that's how I would prefer to handle it, if it's at all possible.
Peter, when would they be available to get on the agenda? Double check, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, the next available meeting date would be February 22nd.
What do you say?
February 27th.
227, is that what you said,
20
Peter?
22nd.
He's saying we can put it on the agenda February 22nd.
I know. I don't believe we'll be able to make our Concom deadline that way. So again, we were here before the board in September.
Yep,
and
and
got
you're here before
continued
the
to
board in
December.
2020, you're here before the board in 2018, you're here before the board in 2015. Yep. Yep, we were here. Yeah. And if things, some of those things were simplified, I don't think we'd be asking for a new set of revised plans to spell it out. You know, we have questions, neighbors have questions. I mean, you know,
Which questions, I guess, remain unanswered? I guess I've just spent a little bit of time explaining what we want an approval from you tonight. It's areas that are within the 100-foot buffer of the Concom jurisdiction, the parking area, the generator yard, the loading dock area. That's what we need approved from you tonight. Everything else you can condition and say, come back to us later on when this gets built. But we need an approval conditionally for the parking lot that's shown on the right, the generator yard, the loading area, and that's basically it. So I don't think that that merits us being continued another 2 months, which now significantly impairs our success on completing construction, which we all want to get done. We all want to get this built, and I don't want to waste another 2 months. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I just may offer, I think it's a positive thing that we can eliminate that emergency access drive, which we've established that we can do that here this evening. It's a condition. It's a condition. They have to submit a plan to DPD based on the condition of the approval of site plan review. It's that simple. We've made it clear that we don't have the details on the substation. Guess what? We approve it without the substation. And we approve it without, if we don't want to have the expanded cooling station, approve it without that. I mean, that flies in the face of what the approval is all about. That's what the conditions are put in place for. I mean, we're basically saying we don't trust the conditions being followed and we don't trust DPD getting it. Then it's up to DPD to enforce it and issue a cease and desist, and it stops.
so if you made a motion, Mr. Fischett, would that clarify what plan they would be submitting to us, the DPD would be looking at to approve? And if, would the board be able to look at that plan as well without the applicant being present to see if it concurs with what interpretation of what was being approved this evening?
Sure, we're exercising our right to issue a conditional approval of site plan review. And the condition will be to eliminate that emergency access drive as displayed on the plan. The emergency access drive in the southwest corner.
Can you just point that out on the plan when he's talking to? Just so, I just want to make sure everybody knows what we're
Yep.
talking about. So when you come back and say, well, we thought he meant the other one. So, and that's also known as, what's the name of it?
Here, do you happen to have a marker or some type, Sharpie?
I don't, and I know this is unusual, but I did want to just ask one question.
The conditional would be to eliminate, is that a certain street name? No.
Hold on.
We're,
There we got something. You don't have the rule again, do you?
I mean, it's a good concession to have that eliminated here tonight, and for us to somehow get, this is what site plan review is all about, so.
If you can outline where we're approving to.
Right.
I don't think that's good.
So what's the name of that? Is that a road or a street? Is that the?
Access.
Yeah, the front of that road or the street?
I was,
Oh, Jared? How about,
That's the entrance on the end. We're completing the fence, which is what we wanted all along. That's what we wanted all along, so that was in the plan, eliminating this, eliminating the use of children. And this is a major aspect of that.
Yep.
We can eliminate that tonight, I think that's a major.
so maybe before you continue I do want to ask the butters where what the reaction they may have. If we,
When they went to the Concom
if we,
like a few months ago. I'm about to say something.
Yeah, we can clarify, it's Prince, Prince Way, and Prince, and we'll try to get on Can I tell you something?
so I think we would like to hear your reaction.
Could,
If you can go to the,
I just want to say, are these things, are the plans that were filed for the Conservation Commission, do they not have the extraneous stuff that we're talking about tonight?
Those things are outside of their jurisdiction. Their jurisdiction is
No, so that's what I'm saying. Could we submit those plans as a condition of approval? If it only has what we're talking about tonight?
yes, definitely.
That, I mean, it's the will of the body, but,
Yeah, I see what you're saying, so.
yeah.
In other words, the revised plans would be submitted to COMCOM.
No, what he submitted to Concom would be,
Right.
Essentially what we're going to build.
Yeah. Right.
What Concom was approved is what we've just described. It's this generator.
Yeah, we haven't touched that at all. Right.
so I'm looking at a document that they submitted to Concom that doesn't have anything else on it besides what's.
Oh, just that
area.
spot. I got you.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because COMCOM, that was outside of COMCOM's purview.
Right,
Yeah.
so they could submit that as a, like, condition of
Yeah.
approval, basically.
so I believe Mrs.
Eileen Castle.
Catherine want to,
Does that mean that they're going to be putting all those new generators in?
which ones?
The generators, they have, what, 6 or 8 of them down there now? And it looks like they're trying to put in 16 more? Or 12?
Up top, right?
Yeah, there is.
So I think those were
Whoa.
previously approved,
Yeah,
right?
there was actually.
Yeah, those were previously approved.
There were some that were previously approved, but the rest of them weren't. Those are new.
No, that was bigger. That was even.
There's a group of them, yeah. These were all approved. Not the other ones down below. What about the second one? Those are there. The ones, so you have 2 on the top.
Yeah.
Those are 2 sections. One wasn't there before and one was. You don't have all of them in there. So what you're saying is that you want to put them in now, although they were approved before, but now you want us to reapprove them. This is a neighborhood. This isn't just a
Well, no,
business area. This isn't, I know you call it light industrial, but we have families, we have kids, we have people there. I am so tired of coming down here and trying to fight for what the rights of the people that live in that neighborhood are. You don't have those generators there. You want them there. And that's what that's all about. And that fence that's back there, and the new fence that you're talking about that is automatic, I don't even know what it's for. There's an automatic fence going in down there, correct? By the generators.
No. By the generators aren't, it's just going to have a regular chain fence.
So all you want is the wall down there. So you're going to put up a wall, you're not going to add any more generators, and then you're going to fix the parking spaces down there, and that's all that's getting approved tonight, no generators.
The generators themselves are not getting approved tonight, correct?
And they're not going in.
But that was all right. That's part of the plan.
With a 100-foot buffer of the wetland, which has to get done. So, to answer your question, we are not adding another generator immediately, correct? We are adding just the pad area. We're grading, putting in a retaining wall, level it off so that when the generators are needed, we will be back for that. But we're showing you that there's,
So,
there will be generators in this area, the generator yard. We are preparing the pad, subgrading, the foundation, if you will, for where there will be generators.
So I'm just trying to clarify the fact that the generators aren't there, they don't belong there, but it sounds like if they get permission, they're going to go there, and they're going to be there sooner than later, because this is what happens to us
So-
every time we come here.
So my understanding is that the generators are already approved in the 2020 plan. So they just have not been installed yet, but
But
they have
wasn't-
been approved.
But isn't this a new plan?
This is not a new plan. This is a modification of the plan.
Okay,
So we're not changing that element right now. So you will see, you probably most likely will see the generators installed sometime in the future because they have been approved.
all right. So I'm going to ask questions again then, I'm sorry. I'm not great at this. That's right next to the brook.
Yes.
What are the results of this? We live in the city. The houses are right next to that. There's houses all along down there. I would like to know what we thought, what you think about the people that pay taxes, that they live in those houses. Nobody wants to live around here in this area because they're always changing their mind and coming up with something new. Oh, we changed our mind, we don't want to do this, we'll do this instead. And then we're stuck with whatever it is. I just don't, if the plan, they were already on the plans and I can't do anything about it, but I'm opposing all of it. I don't care about their parking lot. They changed the parking 5 times. They had parking next to my house where the water towers are, they moved those. This has been an ongoing thing for years, and everybody knows it here. And I apologize for going off like this, but I'm just so tired of it. I think that somebody should look at this and say, you know, we need to think about the city of Lowell instead of thinking about just what Mr. Markley wants for his. He's working and getting millions probably, and all I care about is my family and the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, I've had my hand raised
So
for a
just for
bit of
clarification, when
time,
you talk about
and
the
I just
entranceway,
wanted to kind of follow up.
Just for clarification for that entranceway, what's the name of that street? It's the, just so, yeah, going in, there's the name of it?
I believe it's Iowa.
Right.
Maybe Prince Ave and Iowa.
That's what I mean. So, I mean, I know what, I figured it's Prince, but it's actually a combination of both, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Because when I went up there and looked at it, I know it's basically, spells out Prince, but it's, yeah, and then the tire track, railroad tracks are kind of like in the middle, right?
Correct.
So it's Iowa, okay, I got the name Prince, not just Prince, okay.
While you guys are taking notes, can I speak for a quick second?
Sure.
This is Jake in remotely. So just to follow up on what Eileen had said, we've been at this since 2015 when Markley came to town. And I see what you guys are doing tonight, and I will also say that I have no qualms about this parking lot that they're trying to do if it was that only. But every single time, there's always a change that they're trying to slip in there. And it has been every time since they first arrived. In 2015, there was supposed to be an equipment well behind my house. It was undefined. It was undefined, and this board approved it. Not everybody was here then, but the members who are here now, you approved it. And what ended up happening was 1 month later, an updated plan was submitted to the Department of Planning, and it showed generators there, but there was never a new meeting. And then they just kind of became there. And then they came for a new modification, I believe it was in 2018, and it was like, oh, there's generators there now. But it was never actually approved for generators to be in that spot. But then when a new site plan got introduced, it just got grandfathered in. Same stuff is happening here tonight. And I agree with, I think her name is Sinead, I don't know her last name, the one who's sitting off in the corner. I agree with her. Corrected plans need to be shown because when you put these plans in like this and you approve this, it leads to problems. Markley has a history of this. Why do you think I've been before you guys so many times? Those 4 generators behind my house were never, ever supposed to be there. And how it happened was exactly what we're repeating tonight. Can we please stop? That's all I'm asking.
Thank you, sir. So do you want to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the site plan with the following conditions, that the proposed emergency access drive at the southwest corner out onto Iowa and Prince Street be eliminated from the plan, that the proposed substation, the northeast corner that's being proposed, the new plan is eliminated from the plan, that the additional cooling, the additional chillers are eliminated from the plan, and that the applicant, and again, this is what is supposed to happen, the applicant submit revised plans to DPD reflecting the conditions of the approval of the site plan.
I'm sorry, Jerry, did you get the substation too?
Yes,
Yeah,
the substation at the northeast
Thank
corner
you.
of the plan, I believe is what I was referring to. That was condition number 2.
Can you put a date on the revised plans to DPW?
And how soon can you get those revised plans to DPD? By the end of the week. So let's say that the revised plans are to be submitted to DPD by December 15th. The next Friday. And again, from DPD's perspective, is that the plans need to reflect the conditions of the approval. Yeah, that's been a contention of the board here. Do you have, again, a target date on the completion of that fence on Andrews Street?
It's part of the parking lot project and it will be completed, that fence, imagine by September or something.
Another year. What I will tell you is, and I wholeheartedly understand the frustration of the neighbors, because it's been a construction site since 2015, in essence. So it's an amazing service that's being provided there, but if you're in a butter, it isn't like it just went in 2015. You had an 18-month or 24-month construction period, and now you're kind of living as an abutter around there. They've been living next to a construction site since 2015, so the frustration level is pretty high, and I understand that.
And I certainly appreciate the board's willingness to help us meet that deadline and really rectify that. So this certainly goes a long way.
I just, if we could, I've never been a believer in giving false hope with conditions, but really with the condition that the completion of that fence on Andrews Street be made a priority, and that it has to be completed as part of this phase of the parking lot and the part of conservation approval, is that you make that a priority as part of that phase of the project. That becomes that phase of the project. Otherwise, if it isn't, then you're out of compliance with the condition of this approval. All right, so.
So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Before this, is it possible the staff kind of present us the plan in the next meeting, so when you add that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, since the staff forward the plan submitted by the applicant upon receipt? Yep.
Yep, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, so when staff gets, maybe you're going to send a copy to all of us?
Yep, we can definitely do that.
Sure.
And if we need to go over it at the meeting or something, we can schedule it as other business.
Okay, yep, good.
And if you have any questions on the plans, just let us know. If you think something's missing, let us know, we'll take a look at them. Okay. Any other questions, Caleb?
No, I will second the motion.
You have a motion on the floor and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none, the matter is approved with the conditions that have been outlined. Good luck, sir. Thank you. Good luck. Thank you, everybody, for coming down and speaking this evening. Appreciate it very much. Approved with conditions.
We get that to the public too? Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Can you give, Peter, do you contact information from Peter?
Of course. You guys probably know.
Excuse me. Moving along on the agenda, the next matter is a special permit and site plan review for 205 Pratt Ave. Stellani Govu and Alex Papadopoulos have applied to the Lowell Planning Board for a special permit and site plan review approval to demolish an existing single-family home and construct a new multifamily structure with 40 dwelling units and an associated 133 parking space area at the above address. The property is in the suburban mixed-use zoning district and requires special permit approval under Article 12 and site plan review approval under Section 11.4 to construct a new development with more than 3 dwelling units. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Chairman Linehan, members of the Planning Board, Attorney John Cox, 375 Gorham Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. I represent Alex and Stella Papadopoulos, who own the property at Pratt Avenue. They have owned that property since 1992. As you can see from the plan that Matt has up there, you actually can't see the 206 Pratt Avenue, which is below the building the lower building that you see there. They own both sides of Pratt Avenue, is what I'm trying to say, and there's apartment buildings on both sides. We have had many meetings with DPD staff over the last year or so on this matter. We are proposing to build a new 5-story building with 40 dwelling units. The bottom floor will be a garage or a parking area for 26 cars that'll park on the bottom floor, then 4 floors above that of apartments. Currently, the building that you see on the lower building you see on the plan has 30 units, and this would be the building behind that. So back off of Pratt Avenue, back off of Westford Street. We will also propose to demolish an existing single-family home, which is at 969 Westford Street, which has been there for some time. That will come out, and obviously this property is in the SMU zone for multifamily, so it's an exciting proposal in the sense that adding 40 more units of housing in the city of Lowell in an area that's zoned properly for multifamily. It's important that it fits in with the neighborhood clearly. This building would be very similar to the other buildings that are on Pratt Avenue currently. Just for a little bit of a history, back in August, we met with I met along with Nancy Judge from the Highland Neighborhood Association, met with the people who own the condo, which is at the corner of Pratt and Westford Street. They had their annual meeting. I was there and talked to the neighbors, and I believe one of the neighbors is here this evening. We've had, like I said, many meetings with the DPD staff. On August the 8th, we petitioned the City Council to abandon that part of Pratt Avenue, which would be, again, below the building, the lower building you see now, that's Pratt Avenue, that runs between Mr. Papadopoulos' two buildings. That, by abandoning that, it will allows us to use that area for additional parking, as well as better traffic flow through the development. City Council approved that, as I said, on August the 8th, unanimously. September the 11th, we went to the Zoning Board of Appeals, requesting really just a couple of variances for this project. One is a side yard setback in the back, and the other one is for parking. We are providing 133 parking spaces where 140 is required. Both of those variances and any other variances that were needed were approved unanimously back in September. We have filed the notice of intent with the Conservation Commission. Actually, we're on their agenda next week with that. We are 50 feet from any wetlands, and which is obviously their main concern, I believe. The DPD memo of November 27th, which I'm sure you have, goes over the history of it a little bit, goes over the Zoning Board of Appeals, talks about the conditions that were put on this project by the ZBA. One includes windows facing Westford Street on the building, which we obviously will do, and the other pertains to shade trees along Westford Street. I should point out that by removing that single-family home on Westford Street, we are creating a lot more green space on Westford Street, which is something that was very appealing to DPD. I think the most important comment from DPD is comment number 3, which talks about the changes I just talked about and the conditions that we obviously have agreed to. The project view staff is supportive of this application, as it will create much needed housing in a location that is appropriate for additional multifamily housing. I think that's important. The fire department, the Lowell Fire Department, in comment number 4, had a concern, had a concern with how the fire trucks would get around the building. We met with them a month or so ago. Matt and I met with the fire department, and I think you'll see, a letter dated November 3rd from the fire department saying that they have no conditions. The permits will be issued. We had revised the plans to their satisfaction. Another issue that happens to be going on at the same time here is the city has and the neighborhood organization has spent a lot of time and apparently a lot of money in proposing and now getting ready to actually install a intersection improvement at the corner of Stedman and Westford, which is right outside of this proposal. My understanding is that will be installed sometime in 2024. As part of that, we have been in contact with the traffic engineer for the city, Elizabeth Altman, as well as Rebecca Clark, who is the senior design engineer for the organization or the outfit that's actually doing the work for the city for that traffic light at Stedman and Westford. They have asked for some easements, and both temporary easements and permanent easements which Mr. Papadopoulos has agreed to, and we have passed that along to the engineers that we would have obviously no objection to the easements that they're requesting. Also, you'll see a traffic assessment, which has been filed with the city. I think you would have it. It's dated September the 11th. And the bottom line of that is that after looking at it, that was done by Transportation Engineering, Planning, and Policy out of, I believe, New Hampshire. Their summation is that that this project is anticipated to have no significant impact on area traffic operations. Another thing is an email from August 22nd. I apologize. From August 22nd, from got this cold the other day. I thought I got rid of it, but I guess not. From Elizabeth Altman, talking about the home on Westford Street that is going to be removed, and she actually said, and I quote, "Removal of the driveway to that house would be ideal." Clearly, this is a. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Frechette. I'm wrapping it up. Obviously, the benefits to the city would be immense. Brand new housing to the housing stock in the city, which as we all know, is very, very low. Clearly, this is going to be north of a $10 million investment. So the substantial increase in tax revenue to the city. And all the ZBA conditions will be incorporated into this project. We hope that you'll look favorably upon this. Matt will handle all the engineering questions. I think he's got a better voice than I do tonight. And we feel this conforms to neighborhood character. Again, the traffic demand plan, which is positive. The walkways for the buildings, sufficient parking, fire department sign off. All of these matters we think are positive. We hope that the board will look favorably upon this request. Thank you very much, and I apologize for my voice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Matt Hammer with Lamplex Engineering, 10 George Street, Lowell, Mass. I'm going to walk through the project in its entirety for you this evening. Just to get you oriented, this is Stedman Street here. Comes down to an existing intersection with Westford Street. Existing is a single-family dwelling that's here, and there's an existing apartment complex here, which has pavement surrounding it with a drive that comes around the building, ties into the single-family dwelling, comes out onto Pratt Ave. And there's also an additional apartment building that's owned by Alexandra Papadopoulos. So he owns this property here, this separate residence, which is known as 969 Westford Street. And there's an existing condominium complex across the street from Pratt Ave. There's some zoning district lines that I'll outline. In the center of the street of Westford Street, there's an RR district, there's an SMU district, and then it also comes up in a zigzag direction here, and there's actually an SF district here that wraps around the back here with an SMU here, which is what we are in. Princeton Property owns a property back here. Their buildings are back here with access off of a different roadway system. The property is approximately 75,000 square feet on this section here. There's a stream here that goes underneath a culvert underneath Westford Street, which has been delineated by a wetland botanist, and it also has a 100-year floodplain associated with that, which is identified on this plan as well. There's a multitude of easements on the property related to sewer easements that are located here, here, and over here. There's additionally, there's a paper street in the back called Lariat Street, which essentially goes through the wetlands, which we don't anticipate will ever get developed. And there's also a 20-foot permanent easement extending here. All the easements are going to remain in place. We've designed the project around all the easements. And there's also an existing like a open space area that's located here that's utilized by the people who live in the units themselves. Before we made this submission, we actually petitioned the city council to abandon this portion of Pratt Avenue that wasn't necessary anymore to be there, because at one time Pratt Avenue used to go through the Princeton Properties property. They abandoned Pratt Avenue at one time in the past, and now we have abandoned Pratt Avenue up to this point here, which I'll show you on a different plan, because now we're going to further develop this property, and we realized that we could gain additional parking by abandoning that portion of Pratt Ave that was no longer needed, because it was always maintained privately throughout this development, if that makes sense. And that's the existing conditions plan. This plan here is what I just provided to you is the abandonment of this portion of Pratt Avenue. 20 feet on this side, 20 feet on this side. Our client owns both sides, so that was able to be fully abandoned, and that has been abandoned by the city council. This portion here is going to remain. The proposed development, as I said, we gained some additional parking here, so the access drive will come through here, providing parking and landscaping here to provide more parking to that existing dwelling out in front of the primary access point of the building, which it currently didn't have. The parking was out back, and they walked around to the main entrance. So now they're going to have 16 spaces in front of this existing building. Coming around the building, there'll be a parking area here, which will bring you around to an access drive, which is going to go to an underground, an at-grade parking area beneath the building, which will provide us 26 parking spaces here. We'll bring you back out to here, to this drive here. This is going to be a one-way drive here, providing some angle parking here with some additional landscaped islands and landscaping, which I'll go over afterwards. That'll come down into this area here, where there's a parking area here, a larger parking area out in front of the building here. Again, you're going to see that there really was no parking directly against the building, and now there is to the existing. And then there's parking underneath the building for the new building, and then there's going to be some additional parking area here, bringing you back out to Pratt Ave to the entrance that's existing out onto Westford Street. With this new parking arrangement, there's going to be landscaping, trees put throughout the entirety of the property. There's going to be a new walkway that currently was not there before, which is going to bring folks from the actual building through a crosswalk sidewalk configuration out to the existing sidewalk out onto Westford Street. And there's going to be landscaping against the building here to the new building, and some walkway improvements and landscaping areas around the building as well. Additionally, there's going to be a dumpster pad location here for the trash to the buildings, and that's approximately where the dumpster pad is now for the existing facility. There's going to be a porous pavement element that we're incorporating into the site on this end of the parking area, and the main purpose of that was to provide an improvement to the areas that were in close proximity to the wetlands, and that was a recommendation by DPD, of which we agreed upon, incorporated that into the plan. There's snow storage areas around the perimeter of the parking area here. There's also snow storage areas in here around the exterior of the parking areas there and within here. There's also some signage here which tells folks when they're going both ways, able to go both directions here, that this is a one-way and that they're not able to extend up into the site when they're down in this. It actually slopes down to this parking area down here. Again, as Attorney Cox had elaborated, it's a 5-story building. First story is ground level parking, and then there's going to be 4 stories of residential. Each story will have 10 units on it, giving us a total of 40. There's 5 2-bedroom units, and there's 5 1-bedroom units on each floor, and they're all identical, working your way up. That's the proposed layout of the site in landscaping. We've also added some additional landscaping notes and recommendations from DPD on this sheet here, and we've met with DPD, I think, 3 times related to this configuration of the site, incorporating their input on the property. This is the grading plan. This property will meet the stormwater regulations, being in full compliance with infiltration systems and drainage systems here, here, and here. It'll also be fully sprinklered, the new building, and it'll have accommodations for floor drains within the at-grade parking area, and also we'll have sewer, of which it can tie into the existing sewer that runs through the property now. These are renderings of the proposed building. This is the front entrance here, looking at it in this direction here. Front entranceway, this is the exit to the parking garage. This is the a perspective looking at it in this direction here. showing the entrance to the parking garage, the front entrance of the building, front facade. This is another angle showing the exit to the parking garage. One of the conditions of the Zoning Board of Appeals approval was to incorporate windows off the end of the building facing Westford Street, which we fully said that we would incorporate into the drawings. And it'll be similar to the windows that are on this side of the building. These are the elevations here. This is the front elevation, the rear elevation, the left elevation, and the right, which will incorporate those windows as a condition from the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is a layout of the parking garage, which will have emergency egress stairwells shown here and here, as well as an elevator to get from the parking garage up into the actual units themselves, which is also ties into the front foyer of the building, and there's going to be a mechanical room and a maintenance storage room. This is a typical floor plan. All the one bedrooms, 3 of the one bedrooms are here on this side, and a mixture of 2 and 1 bedrooms in this area here, and then there's 4 2 bedrooms in the rear. And each floor plan will replicate on each floor above. Attorney Cox had mentioned that we did get some comments from the fire department. They asked us to do a slight modification in this area here, which we did. We submitted that plan back to them. They provided a memo to Attorney Cox saying that the configuration did meet their approval. But I also wanted to show you that we provided a full swept path analysis showing how the fire truck can maneuver through the property itself. And that was provided to the fire department.
Matt, can I just ask you one question about that while you have that plan up, if you don't mind?
Yes.
So what was the change from the first thing to the fire department to the second?
It was this corner right here with this configuration of the parking. There was an island that came out.
Oh, okay.
And we took the island out.
You mentioned about the island. Okay.
Yeah, we were able to reconfigure the island and not lose any parking related to that.
Thank you.
I had,
I see. Thanks.
I didn't know if we were wanted to see the improvements that are going to happen out on Stedman Street. So I decided to print a copy just in case.
Yeah.
We might as well look at it briefly. You should have put it on a separate board. We're here. There's going to be quite an improvement to Stedman and Westford Street that I think people have been anticipating that was going to happen at some point. One of the big parts of it to kind of make this happen was getting rid of the single-family house that is sitting here and kind of interrupts the entire intersection with its driveways and everything else related to that separate property. Now that that's going to be removed, it makes everything clean with their improvement plan because there's no more driveway interrupting all that work that they would be doing in the improved area. So there's going to be new sidewalks, there's going to be a mast arm, a sizable mast arm that'll be needed here to be putting a signalization on the intersection in the center. And there'll also be handicap ramp and crosswalk improvements that'll be located here and here. in here, which will allow folks to cross the street with proper push-button crosswalks. In order to accommodate those, there's electrical boxes, the mast arm, and the electrical boxes in order to service each of the blinking yellow lights that will be needed for crosswalks. All of those easements, be it the temporary easement to construct the improvements of the sidewalk, and there's going to be permanent easements for the signals and the electrical boxes themselves, we are going to provide that full easement to the city. We've sent an email out to the traffic engineer telling them that we're going to provide those full permanent easements. And we've even overlaid them onto our plan to show that it's not going to affect the development of this area over here, because they're all in that landscaped area. The only thing that'll be sizable in that landscape area will be the nest. So we've provided those permanent easements back to, now they're not going to know exactly where they're going to need to be just yet, but when they get put in, we'll be able to provide them. And we've sent them an email back to them late last week telling them that we're in full agreement that we can provide these easements, the temporary construction easement and the permanent easements. Additionally, we have provided a traffic demand plan that is in your packets as well. In the traffic demand plan, I'll go over briefly, wants to address automotive accommodations regarding on-street parking, street parking, the maintenance of Pratt Ave itself, and, to identify the average daily trips, which we've done by hiring a traffic engineer, which provided the memorandum by TEP LLC, which we provided, and the traffic engineer, Miss Elizabeth Altman, has reviewed that document as well. We're also showing pedestrian accommodations, showing improved pedestrian access from the existing building and the proposed building out to the existing walkways, be it interior walkways that we've provided, and in 2 locations to bring folks out to the existing sidewalk, as well as sidewalk maintenance. And we explain the walkability to all the amenities that are right down the street, be it the bank down at Wood Street. There's stores down at Wood Street. You can walk a little bit further and even get up to the mall area, even though it's a little bit of a walk, but it is walkable from this site. As well as going the opposite way up Westford Street. This place is up on Westford Street that you can walk to from this property that are accessible to pedestrians. And even up on Stedman Street, even though most of it's light industrial, there are places up on Stedman Street that are walkable from this property. We're providing exterior and interior bicycle storage areas within the property. And we're fortunate enough to have an LRTA bus route that comes across in front of this property. And with these improvements in the lights, that's going to help with the access to the LRTA. And there's also walkability to Middlesex, which also has buses, even though it's a little bit of a walk down there, but it is walkable to an additional bus route down in that area. And we're providing a multitude of shade trees. And we feel as though with all the work we've done with DPD with this project, addressing all these issues that should be addressed, we feel as though this the traffic demand plan meets the requirements of DPD to have that incorporated into the permit. And that's my presentation.
Thank you.
Yep.
Council, anybody else on behalf of the applicant willing to speak, or did that sum it up?
He does not have anything else to add.
Okay. So you're all set? Okay, thank you. At this point in time, I'll open up the public. Anybody like to speak in favor of this project? Anyone in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. Anybody in opposition? Just come to the microphone, please, sir, and give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is David McCabe. I live in the Westview condominium that was mentioned here. It's the one right below the map you were seeing. Our address is 977 Westford Street, but our front door and our parking lot are on Pratt Avenue. So we're abutting property owners. We haven't been a party to this proposal, of course, but and we haven't been to the meetings. Excuse me. I also had a cold last week. And so we haven't seen many of the plans. We haven't seen the traffic report. We haven't seen the Stedman light plan. By and large, this is obviously a sound proposal, obviously well thought out. We have only one concern, and that is that with the new building in the back of Pratt Avenue, with the 40 new apartments and at least 40 new cars, it just seems as though there's going to be a lot more traffic on Pratt Avenue. And the higher traffic on Pratt Avenue is likely to spill out onto Westford Street. And that makes it everybody's problem, the Westford Street. So what we'd like to see is that the proposal already includes tearing down the house at 969 Westford Street, the one that faces Stedman Street. We'd like to see the outer end of Pratt Avenue moved over to make a four-way intersection with Stedman Street at that light there, because we think that would greatly improve traffic on Pratt Avenue and on Westford Street, where there are school buses that stop at Pratt Avenue, and for Stedman Street, where we have ambulances charging down the street every now and then. Of course, nothing's simple. There's a fire plug right in front of that house that's going to be torn down. And that's all I wanted to say. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Anybody else in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none. Any of the, oh, I'm sorry, Council, anything you want to say?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, very briefly, in regard to what Mr. McCabe suggested, well, we've been talking about this since August. I understand his concerns. There's several issues with coming out that old driveway. First of all, it won't be there. It'll be gone, and the city wants it to be gone for their new traffic.
I want to give Mr. Cox some time to breathe here. So we've looked at this issue, okay, in terms of potentially providing another intersection point at that Stedman and Westford Street, and that was not a desirable thing to do from the city's perspective, because what you're doing is you're adding more traffic to the intersection in an area that currently isn't there, and it essentially brings everyone out from the adjacent building down into the site to go utilize that intersection now in the center of the property. So I just wanted to let you know that we did look at that, and it wasn't something that was recommended by the traffic engineer.
But the ultimate say on where the traffic light goes is with the city, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not that the traffic light would change. It's just you're reconfiguring an intersection with traffic that's currently not there now.
Right.
That's all. You would be adding to in an area that currently is not there now.
Gotcha. Thank you. Anybody else like to speak on this project? Anybody else? Anybody else? At this point in time, I'll turn it over to any of the board members. They have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Sure. Mr. Fischett?
So clearly, I know you were unable to revise the elevations to show the condition the ZBA had on the windows on the right elevation. The landscape plan, so I didn't see a submitted landscape plan, or did I miss that?
There is, yes.
Okay, so can we go, since the ZBA?
Yes.
Since the ZBA, okay, can we go over that with some sense of detail?
Sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So there's tree symbols that are shown here.
Okay, and then you've submitted, and I apologize, Matt, if I didn't see that, so the size of the trees and the species?
Yep, right here, we have proposed trees.
All right, I missed that completely,
That's
okay.
okay. They're all going to be 2-inch caliper with a minimum of 6 feet tall.
Okay,
And what we've done is we've added the selection of trees here for us to go through with DPD at the time when the trees need to be installed. And then we just have some planting dates and some scheduling notes that are listed here on the plan as well.
now, Peter, the condition was for that to be submitted to DPD. Has DPD reviewed the landscape plan yet?
I can't comment for sure because I know the ZBA approved it about a
Subject
month before I
to.
came back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I don't see it in the project folder online.
Yeah, we didn't get any comments.
So I think I can answer that.
Sure.
So we've been talking to DPD in Peter's absence, actually. Peter came back.
Yeah.
Kind of midstream through this. So typically what happens is we've added all the trees with DPD in that at the time before it gets installed, a landscape plan is typically reviewed by DPD before it actually gets implemented into the site. And then what we've done is, like I said, added the types of trees, where they're going, and then we've identified landscaped areas around the building. And then those landscaped areas typically are submitted prior to being installed and reviewed by DPD.
Obviously, Mr. Frechette, we will work with DPD as for whatever they require.
Yeah, I'm just trying to determine, because we didn't get any comments one way or the other, so I just want to make sure we basically, be looking at duplicating the condition just to make sure that
No,
Yeah.
that is being addressed.
100%.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see there's some improvements outside of this project being made to that intersection. We did not receive any negative comments on the traffic pattern from the traffic engineer or the traffic study, so. And I think the transportation demand management plan and along with the 133 parking, I mean, it's 140 you're looking for, that is required, but I think there's sufficient parking given the layout.
Yeah, I should have added that we did receive a variance for the parking.
Yeah, I said in the material.
I think Attorney Cox addressed that
Yeah,
at the beginning. Yep.
yeah. So, all right, Mr. Chairman, I have no further comments at this time.
Any questions, Caleb?
I concur with the parking. I think is quite adequate with the accommodation of pedestrian and biking as well. So one other question. So I see that the parking is laid over the easement. So this easement doesn't require them to be cleared, or those are sewer easements.
Yep.
So just curious.
Yeah, so the easement does run underneath the parking area,
Okay.
right? But it's not the building itself.
Okay.
So the easement's not affected.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people can park on that.
Yes,
Okay.
they currently do now.
I see. And landscape is addressed, and I see that you have 2 new cisterns going in, and then also what is it called? Impervious concrete material somewhere on the left side?
Well, they're not true cisterns, they're oil water separators.
Oh, water.
They act differently than a true cistern, which typically is a fire protection
Oh, I mean,
tank.
infiltration.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So we do have oil water separators.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there something underground?
They're underground, yes. Yep.
And stormwater you're good with stormwater?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we meet with the city stormwater team, go over the methodology, and that'll also be reviewed post-permitting as well. They review it before they issue a stormwater permit.
Okay. And I read from the CBA material, so you did also request for the 7 feet side setback, correct?
Yeah, so the setback normally is 20. Excuse me, I had to think for a minute. Okay, it's a it was a 20-foot setback on the side, and one of the way we were looking at it is that this was a paper street behind here. There were no direct abutters affected by that setback. In that, to the center of the Lariat Street was 27 feet, and that helped support the zoning board of appeals to grant the variance to allow this to be 7, because it wasn't going to affect the abutting property, which is now the Leahy facility, the nursery that we permitted back here. So there's, the river, wooded area, then that nursery facility. So it was not going to adversely affect the direct abutter to that. So that justified that variance request.
Thank you.
Yep.
And that's all.
Sinead, any questions?
I do have a couple of questions and comments, but I'm generally supportive of the plan as proposed. I think, Jerry, you're right. I don't think we have a copy of this updated site plan. So I would just be in support of, I think it's the comment from staff that the proposed condition would be that they submit a updated site plan and landscaping plan in coordination with DPD, which it sounds like the applicant is already doing. I just think we didn't have the most up-to-date copy, which I think improves the shade trees and the circulation, including the sidewalks and everything. So thank you. But we just didn't get to see it in advance of tonight. I have a couple of questions. One is in response to the engineering comment about usable open space. I was just curious if you could just talk through that again about what the requirement is and how you're meeting it.
Yeah, the usable open space is over in here. The requirement is 300, and we're proposing 216. So that was facilitated through the Zoning Board of Appeals process.
Okay, thank you. And then I was in support of the comment from staff about articulating the facade on the Westford Street facade. I think they referred to it as the right.
Yep.
Yep, so just articulating that with windows or maybe with some projections. And then I just wanted to confirm on the renderings, the first floor is rendered as stone. So I just wanted to kind of make it part of the approval that be stone or a material, and I just want to really make sure that that's not concrete.
Yeah, so that'll be a like a cultured stone parapet on that side, but it's not going to be block concrete or an exposed concrete. There'll be some sort of stone facade put on the outside. Right now, it's shown as a natural stone facade, which sometimes is allowed to be cultured stone.
Yeah, I think,
To do that as well.
Yeah, I think
That's
I'm-
what it's shown as on the.
yeah,
on the
supportive as long as it's
It's
kind
just
of,
not bare concrete.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm supportive of that. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be concrete because it wasn't specifically called out.
It does show it on the, if you want to look at this a little closer.
No, I mean in text.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't on the, it wasn't noted anywhere. So I just wanted to make sure that that was going to be the built condition or pretty close to the built condition. And then my last question was just about, it looks like it's going away, but again, I didn't think I saw any specifics on the plan about the chain link fence along Westford Street. It's in generally pretty bad condition right now, and I think,
That's going to be completely removed.
okay,
Yeah.
then yeah, those were all my questions and comments, and I'm happy that they were pretty much all addressed in advance of.
I should note one thing. I'm not sure if they may want to leave a section here so that people aren't allowed to go into the culvert area. So I just would want to make sure that there may need to be a section of this to remain, or that a new fence be put in if needed.
Yeah, I think it was actually the area to the north seemed like generally in good condition. It was
Yeah,
kind
this
of,
section.
it was kind of like all that area to
All
south
this will
was in-
be,
yeah.
there's going to be no fencing along here.
Great.
But this section here may need to stay for
Yeah.
safety purposes.
That's, yeah, I'm supportive of that. It was just kind of the area to the south that it's just in really bad shape. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The only question I have, I think, Matt, you covered it, when they talked about the, on staff comment, was the concrete sidewalk along Pratt Ave should be run from Westford Street to the end of Pratt Ave. I think that's
Yep.
the area, was that up by
That-
where some of the easements?
That's on here. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay, all right. Yeah, so the sidewalk should include the wheelchair ramps.
Yep, and this plan shows all handicap ramps on either side. This will be all handicap compliant out.
Okay, so all the way out to Westford?
Yeah. Shown here.
And so you said when they closed off the street, but it's still open at the very end, so when they abandoned the street, I should say? So, but you said a little bit of Pratt Ave coming in did not get abandoned, correct?
This section here.
Yeah, so that's for the access for the condominium complex that's
Yep.
existing, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So obviously that.
That's here.
That didn't shut them off, okay.
Correct.
Just looked at my pictures here from my site visit. All right. Oh, okay, thank you.
I think there's a comment on snow storage, right?
Yeah, it asked where it was, I think Matt kind of showed where
Yep.
most of it was.
Okay.
It's all labeled here, snow
Yeah.
storage.
Yeah, it did say where was this, no, but I saw that he showed it there.
Okay.
So I think really that new set of light is really gonna help your development,
Yeah.
seriously, getting in and out of that Pratt Ave with those new units with that light,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's going to make things safer leaving Pratt Ave.
sure. Especially going out and taking a right, taking.
Well, yeah, you're gonna-
The lane, but
Right, when this light's on red.
when you stop there and you're taking a right, you'd be.
Yeah, this is going to be completely clear to
Right.
come out.
The other one, you have to still be a little careful going left way, but I think obviously that light, when I heard you say that light was there, I'm like, wow, that really controls that traffic flow of people getting out. For all the condominium complexes in there, and them getting in, that was a benefit for all of them. Because you can tell that the traffic that comes out of Stedman, it's tough. They keep trying to inch their way out of there, and people are going pretty quick around Westford, and then it goes down, and as the street heading towards Chelmsford, it turns, so coming the other direction, people are turning, so they don't have a good line sight of looking at Stedman, and
that's-
they're trying to pull out.
That's the whole cut-through area, right? So,
Exactly, yeah, it is.
everyone who knows their way around it, they use Stedman and Westford Street to avoid Route 3 and, you know,
Especially when
the-
people put their ways.
Drum Hill.
Phones on when there's traffic, tells me, oh, cut through this street, which I didn't even know was there, right?
yeah, well, yeah.
But I think really that's, when I heard you say they had that light there, I'm like, and the city's doing it, and as Attorney Cox said, it's gonna be done within the next year, I'm like, wow, that, so that may even be in before this project is completed, maybe, right?
I think the timing,
Yeah.
I think the timing's going to be perfect, I think.
Well,
So,
thank you, I have no further comments, thank you.
Matt, can I just ask you a quick question on the building itself, the siding material?
Yep.
What Sinead was asking is, so is that, so if you could walk us through that a little bit. So the intent, is that the color scheme, is the intent, what's the material being used to differentiate? I can see, you know, the sections of the building, and then we talked about the stone, veneer, more or less, I guess, on the first floor, but if you can go, give us a little bit of,
yeah, I mean, there's different colored materials for the facade to break up that.
right,
Additionally, all the windows have mullions within the top pane of the double hung window sections to break up the window feature. They're wrapped in trim. There's small decks that come off the units that are recessed into the building that are shown here to give some people a space outside their units, which is a nice feature. There's an entranceway overhang over the entrance with some columns that are going to be wrapped with stone. It'll all be ASIC, plastic polyurethane trim style on the building. I'm not sure I believe it'll be a hardy plank style siding. Don't quote me on that, but I highly doubt it'll be a wood system along the entire, shell of the building. There's overhangs of the gable ends that are features at the top of the building.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of comment relative to the design. I just would, I guess, as far as for final material, probably be looking for a DPD, be submitted to DPD for final approval, just to make sure
Sure.
that that is what we're looking at, besides the windows, but the fact that, the concept is to break it up with the different colors, and whether it be different siding, a texture. Again, I don't think that's been presented with the plans as far.
Well, we're presenting it as blue.
Yeah, I hear, understood, yeah, understood, right, exactly.
We're not going to come back with a red.
Yeah.
It's going to be a version of blue.
Yeah, but I just want to have DPD, I mean, the whole idea of,
Yeah.
again, breaking it up with the different, the different colors that are there, I just want to make sure, and with the stone.
Yeah, I think it's going to look nice.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
showed it to DPD.
Yeah.
We took some of their input, looking at the existing building that was there as well. And we tried to complement the existing buildings with this new building.
Right.
I think it's going to look real nice when it's done.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure that they'll just get final approval.
Yeah.
of design. Yep. Design material, I guess, more what I'd be looking for. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. So, so you need approval for the special permit and the site plan review. Landscape plan, the renderings, and
Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the special permit with the following conditions, incorporating the two conditions from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I understand they submitted a landscape plan. We really didn't get a good chance to look at it. But again, that final review and approval of the landscape plan by DPD. And also, the applicant submit revised elevations and renderings with the articulation of windows on the right elevation facing Westford Street. And again, the applicant shall submit the revised plans to DPD for final approval, as well as siding material to be used on the building. Add that to that condition. And I believe that is all the conditions I would be having.
motion,
If you wanted to add one more,
Sure.
that we would incorporate the easements necessary for the traffic improvements out in Westford Street.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah, incorporate the easements required or requested from, in order to install the
traffic lights.
traffic lights
on
at
Stedman and Westford
Stedman
Street?
and Westford, yeah.
Stedman.
And improvements.
And improvements. It's sidewalk improvements is what's really causing, yeah.
I'll second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none. The special permit is approved, 4 in favor and none against. Now we need a motion for the site plan. I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan with the same conditions as outlined in the special permit. Motion made and second by Ms. Galvin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
That matter carries. So the site plan has been approved, 4 in favor, none against, and the special permit has been approved, 4 in favor, none against. Good luck, wish you well.
Thank you.
Take care. You're welcome, sir. The traffic lights have to be used.
Yeah. I didn't know that was in there. Oh, I didn't know that.
I got some friends who live on Main Street and they go visit them. Luckily, I stay away from that time. Yeah.
Well, no, they're not talking about changing the entire site, with access, up right there, so it'd be a four-way. I get it, but,
Yeah.
that's major.
And then the other apartment also feed off that. So
Exactly,
that,
so everybody would be coming over to that.
yeah, that would be tough.
Now you're making that a public way, really, what you're doing.
Yeah. And then they have the abandoned
I mean, I get the concept, but it's,
And they abandoned part of that.
yeah, you have to abandon it, at that point, it doesn't even exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, in theory, a four-way intersection better than a T intersection, but
Yeah. Okay, moving along on the agenda, we have a special permit and site plan review for 190, 198 Plain Street. Lowell Development LLC to construct 3 separate structures to contain 3 restaurants totaling 6,075 square feet. Requires site plan review, approval from the planning board per section 11.4 for commercial construction with a drive-through, and for the construction of a parking area with greater than 14 spaces. Special permit approval from the planning board for section 12.41G1 for a restaurant drive-through. Special permit approval from the planning board per section 6.1.55 and section 3.3 to reduce the parking requirement for restaurants by 1 space per 250 square feet. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to all. For the record, my name is John Geary of Geary & Geary LLP, 32 Church Street, Lowell, Mass. I'm here tonight representing the applicant, which is Lowell Dev LLC. We have a couple of the members from Lowell Dev are here with us virtually tonight. They're out of state, so we have Lawrence Van Bassett and Ed Bash. They're both in charge of the real estate development for the LLC. We also have Mary Ann Diffin of the PD Engineering, the engineer for the proposal, and we have Andrew Arsenault of Vanessa and Associates, the transportation engineer. Andrew's right behind me here. He's the transportation engineer for the project. As the chairman mentioned, the application involves a request for special permits and site plan approval relative to the redevelopment of 190 and 198 Plain Street from its current use as the VFW Lodge to a use which will include 3 restaurants with drive-through facilities. The total land area of the properties is 87,828 square feet of land. The property is located in the regional retail district. The applicant is proposing to construct a Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen restaurant that will consist of 2,000 square feet on the 190 Plain Street parcel. The applicant's proposing on the 198 Plain Street parcel to construct a Taco Bell that will consist of approximately 2,030 square feet of space, and a Smoothie King on that parcel as well that will consist of 2,045 square feet of space. Although these proposals are allowed as of right pursuant to the code, because we are proposing drive-through facilities, we need a special permit pursuant to 12.4, as the chairman mentioned. The applicant's also seeking a special permit to reduce parking pursuant to 6.1.55 and site plan review pursuant to 11.4 of the ordinance. We have submitted in advance of tonight's meeting a site plan, a landscape plan, floor plan. Actually, we don't have the floor plans of the proposed buildings, but we have the renderings of the proposed buildings. We have submitted a traffic impact assessment, stormwater management plan, and a lighting plan. The properties are located across the street from the signaled intersection at the Meadowbrook Plaza, also known as the Target Plaza, or better known as the Target Plaza, and in close proximity to the on-off ramps of the Lowell Connector at Plain Street. The area is heavily commercialized from the intersection of Plain Street and Chelmsford Street all the way through this property at 198 Plain Street. The property is adjacent to the Lowell Car Wash on the 190 Plain Street side of the property, bordered by commercial uses to the rear of the property along Montreal Street, bordered by residential properties at the end of 198 Plain Street, which is the end of the regional retail district, and across the street from the 198 Plain Street parcel is the heavily commercialized plaza, as I had mentioned. There are also a few chain restaurants in this area. There's a McDonald's, there's a Walgreens, and as we know, there's a Target. Mary Ann will be reviewing the site plan and the circulation through the properties with the board very soon. But in terms of the primary access to and from the site, the applicant's proposing to provide a main point of ingress and egress by way of the existing private right-of-way known as Eaton Street, which is currently owned by the VFW and soon to be owned by the applicant. That point of ingress and egress is where the existing curb cut is located at the site. We intend to use that curb cut. And I would point out that in September of 2019, the city of Lowell determined that it no longer had any further municipal need for the portion of Eaton Street that runs from Plain Street to Montreal Street, and they abandoned any, voted to vacate, discontinue, and abandon any rights that the city had in that parcel. I believe I provided a copy of the city council vote with the submittal. In terms of the special permit, as you all know, among other criteria, we're required to establish how the proposal is consistent with the city's comprehensive master plan and how the project will affect the neighborhood character. With regard to the master plan, the properties are located in a significantly commercialized area of Plain Street in the regional retail district. The regional retail district promotes the development of retail and related businesses that draw its markets from the city of Lowell and regional areas. The project will complement the goals of the RR district as they relate to the master plan by creating additional jobs within the city and most likely for city residents. The redevelopment of the property will also create a significant amount of revenue to the city in terms of real estate taxes. The current user, the VFW Lodge, is a nonprofit and does not pay any real estate taxes to the city whatsoever. With regard to the neighborhood character, the applicant's proposed redevelopment of the parcels will align with the character of the regional retail district, and specifically this commercial stretch of Plain Street, which includes local, regional, national retail businesses. Both lots currently consist of 100% impervious materials, in addition to the building that's on the lot. Once construction is complete, the lots will be professional landscaped and with clearly defined circulation through the lots. It will no doubt enhance this stretch of Plain Street. There will be no environmental impacts as a result of the development of this property. As I mentioned, the post-development condition of this lot will be substantially better than its current condition, considering that the property is paved from corner to corner. The property is not near any wetlands and is not in a 100-year flood zone. In terms of traffic, access, and safety, Mary Ann and Andrew will cover those aspects in good detail, but we believe that the circulation through the property is consistent with all appropriate standards related to traffic access and safety. As I mentioned, all three restaurants will have drive-through facilities with queuing for at least 10 cars. With regard to the parking, the applicant's proposing a total of 48 parking spaces for this development. The breakdown is as follows. So we're proposing 13 spaces for the 2,000 square foot Popeyes restaurant, 20 spaces for the 2,030 square foot Taco Bell restaurant, and 15 spaces for the 2,045 square foot Smoothie King restaurant. The applicant is requesting a special permit pursuant to 6.1.55 in order to reduce the parking down to one spot per 250 feet of space. The applicant can prove that the proposed, and so 6.1.55 requires that the applicant establish for the board that the reduced parking is sufficient to provide the parking for the customers that wish to dine in at the site. So in terms of doing that, we have provided the board with the Popeye standards for parking. So the Popeye standards require that there be one parking space for every 2 seats in the restaurant, along with 6 spaces for employees, for the 6 employees that are typically working at the restaurant at any given time. So for the 12-seat Popeyes restaurant that's proposed, this would equate to 12 parking spaces, 6 for customers, 6 for the employees. We're providing 13 parking spaces for that facility, which is more than adequate to serve the customers that would plan to dine in there. In terms of the optimal site standards for a Taco Bell restaurant, so the prototypical Taco Bell restaurant is 2,300 square feet with 40 interior seats and 14 exterior seats. That would equate to about 22 parking spaces. The proposed Taco Bell at this site will be 2,030 square feet with a maximum of 40 seats inside and no outdoor seating whatsoever. Using that calculation, given the brand standards, it's anticipated that the Taco Bell with 40 seats would require 17 parking spaces, 3 less than the 20 that we are proposing in this instance. The Smoothie King restaurant is anticipated to have less dine-in demand than either the Popeyes or the Taco Bell restaurant because of the nature of that business. However, to be consistent with the required parking determination, we've allocated 15 spaces for that restaurant. This will accommodate 5 employees and a maximum of 20 seats for that restaurant. Parking which is being provided for each restaurant meets the brand standards and far exceeds the minimums of required pursuant to 6.1.55. So if you apply the standards of that reference to the code, we would need to have a minimum of 26 parking spaces. We are providing 48 parking spaces in total. The proposal also requires site plan review, as you know. The narrative which I submitted goes into great detail how we meet the criteria associated with the site plan review. But again, Mary Ann will go through the site conditions with the board when she presents. In terms of the staff comments, we received the memo from Dylan dated November 28th. The first 3 comments just summarize the proposal. So picking up on comment number 14, Dylan indicates that the applicant's required to meet the landscape open space requirements because of the amount of parking that we have. We do meet those requirements. It is on the plan. It's difficult to read because there's a lot of material on the plan, but Mary Ann will go over that with the board and demonstrate how we meet those requirements. Comment number 5 speaks to the reduction of parking, so I've covered that in pretty good detail, I feel. We have provided sufficient parking to serve the businesses that we're proposing here. DPD seems to agree that the parking is sufficient. Comment number 6 recommends that the board adopt the conditions stated in the city's transportation engineer's comments. The applicant is agreeable to incorporating all of those conditions into any approval. The economic development director opines that the proposal is an improvement to the site, and in terms of economic development, the proposal will create jobs to the city. I'll point out again that, in addition to jobs, it's a significant amount of real estate tax revenue coming into the city as well, considering that there is currently no real estate tax being paid at this site. The balance of the comments were from the city transportation engineer. Again, Andrew will be reviewing his findings in detail. I know that Jeffrey Dirk, the principal of Vanessa and Associates, has had a couple of conversations with Liz, our transportation engineer, and they are on the same page in terms of the conditions that were presented here for improvements to the site. So with that, I'll turn the presentation over to Mary Ann, and then we'll hear from Andrew. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Ooh. A little shorter than John. Good evening. My name is Marianne Diffin. I'm an assistant project manager with Dupree Engineering, and I'd like to walk you through our presentation, which I'm not sure if the PowerPoint is up. Sorry, that's for Vanessa. That is not the PowerPoint. I did provide a flash drive. Oh, the flash drive is to your left there. Yep. I know, it was my first time seeing one like that. It looks like I get to drive. It's not popping up on the old PC here. Sure.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, we have a PowerPoint presentation. We're trying to pull it together.
No problem.
If not, we have the hard copies, but I think you'll get a good view through the PowerPoint.
Sure.
Just give us a moment.
No problem, Counsel.
Just start with the hard copies. Yeah, that's okay. Sorry about that. I did have additional slides in the PowerPoint presentation that aren't on the boards, one of which includes an
Hold on a
aerial.
second. I'm going to just wait for Peter to come back.
You prefer we just wait for the PowerPoint?
Yeah, no, just wait for Peter, because he takes all our notes of what happens here, so.
Oh, that's fair.
So we want to make sure he gets them, and he's very good at them, too, so. So when the minutes come out, we make sure that everything's there, yeah. Bless me. God bless you. I don't know anyone else. It's cold in here.
There's a PDF and a PowerPoint. I sent both just in case. Just one is from Vanass and the other one is from... As long as that's the most current one, anyway. Brilliant. Okay, that should cover it. And it just goes to everyone's screen. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Oh, nice. Can you folks see the presentation on your screens up there? The boards have most of the information. If you guys don't mind, I can just point that way. Towards them.
Just don't stand in front of it, we'll be all set.
What is this, take 3? Take 4? All right, folks. So the project that we have today, John did an excellent job walking us through sort of what we're looking to do here. So I will lay some foundation on where we are in Lowell. The project is a 1.73 acre site. We are proposing 3 restaurants, as John said. It's located right off of the Lowell connector you can see to the west of the site. The target site is immediately south, and then you have multiple auto body uses directly to the north, a residential neighborhood to the right, which, as John said, is the end of the regional retail district. And then to the left, there is a car wash, and right beyond the car wash is, I think it's River Meadow Brook, which is an impaired river but with no TMDLs. So while it's impaired, there's no established limits for pollutants that have been found in the river. So I think my colleague Andy will be discussing the external circulation for the site, for the traffic. I'm sure that's of general concern. I know there's a little bit of congestion on Plain Street, which is what this project abuts. But as you can see, we have pretty decent internal circulation throughout the site. We have 3 drive-throughs, which have their own separate drive-through and bypass lanes in each drive-through, and can accommodate at least 10 vehicles, which is the requirement for the town. You'll see that we did try to keep those drive-through queues as internal to the site as possible to prevent any sort of backup onto Plain Street. And you'll also see that we positioned the order boards all to the north side of each of the buildings, away from the residential district, which is to the east. Other site features include a dumpster for the first building, which is the Popeyes to the left. Every dumpster on the site will be enclosed and also have some sort of vegetative screening as well to try to reduce the nuisance that dumpsters typically provide. Throughout the site, you'll see that we also include pedestrian access with internal pedestrian circulation provided by sidewalks and crosswalks, so that anyone who maybe wants to go to the Popeyes, but then, I don't know, their girlfriend wants to go to the Taco Bell can get both fixed at once. We've also provided bicycles at each of the buildings to make sure that anyone who arrives by bike, including employees, is welcome to do so and lock up their bike in a secure location. We've provided snow storage areas to the south of the site and on either side of Eaton Street. And what else? And in general, I should also point out that the site circulation around each of the buildings is going to be one-way circulation and really is just for drive-through folks or people that maybe want to bypass a drive-through lane if, you know, their order is taking too long. Site circulation within the lot 198, which is building 2 and 3, the Taco Bell and Smoothie King respectively, has one two-way drive aisle at the front of the building. And then the Popeyes is one-way circulation throughout the entirety of the building. I'd like to point out now just some of the landscape features, because I know that the landscape requirement is something, oh, sorry. Getting mixed up. I should probably point out the parking spaces. I think John did an excellent job of pointing out the number of parking spaces we're providing for the property. For building 1, we're providing those 13 parking spaces for the 12-seat restaurant. This is a reduction from the original, I think, 40 spaces that was required per the restaurant, sit-down restaurant use, but it's a significant increase from the 8 spaces that is required with the special permit that we're requesting, the 1 space for 250 square feet. For building 2, we have 20 parking spaces that provided for up to a 40-seat restaurant. That's what's typically asked for a Taco Bell. And similarly, that is a significant increase from the 9 spaces that we would be required with the 1 space per 250 square foot requirement. And then for the Smoothie King, which we expect to have the least amount of traffic, given that there simply just isn't quite so much of a demand as a Taco Bell or Popeyes for smoothies. And also, we expect that more likely visitors to the Smoothie King probably won't be staying as long as, say, a Taco Bell or Popeyes. We are providing 15 parking spaces for that. Again, a significant increase from the 9 spaces that's required from the 1 space per 250 square foot requirement. And I know that I'm sure there's some concern with drive-throughs abutting any sort of residential properties. So I did want to point out some of the site features that we have today to try to alleviate, you know, any concerns regarding drive-throughs. Also, the attention that we've taken to the city's landscaping requirements. I know that there's a number of requirements both for green space and for shade trees. So on the property, simply within the parking area, we're providing 9 ornamental and shade trees, including what I believe are cherry trees over on the east side that is abutting the residential area. We are also providing a stockade fence, which is, you know, a lot more opaque than, say, a chain link fence, both to screen the uses and also to provide some barrier to any potential noise. In addition to those shade trees, you'll see that, and we did not include this in our parking calculation just to be conservative with the estimate, there's also a number of shade trees that are provided along Plain Street, which if you've been out there today, there isn't any shade along Plain Street. And we anticipate that that will help both reduce the amount of heat in the area due to the heat island effect from an 100% impervious site, but will also provide just a better walking experience for anyone visiting the site. In addition to that, we're providing additional screening and additional plantings throughout the site, again, to try to make the site more attractive to its users, including a row of arborvitae to the north, again, to provide that sort of screening both from sound and also just making the site more attractive. And we do meet the requirement for open space. I believe it is 5%. We would be required to have 5% proposed landscape area within the parking. And we are currently proposing up to 60% landscaped area within the parking area. So those are kind of the major site features that you would see above ground for the site. I should also just note that each of the properties will have their own sewer and water access and will be serviced by public sewer and water. And also, I think, gas as well. And then that brings us to the sort of below ground features. This is our grading and drainage plan. I'm sorry, it's a little bit small on your screen, I'm sure. But I wanted to point out that today the site is 100% impervious. There is no stormwater treatment to be found on the site. Water today flows roughly to the west of the site from east to west. And you'll see that it flows essentially, half the site flows essentially down to Plain Street, and the other half flows towards a wooded area that's at the northwest corner of the site, adjacent to the car wash. So what we've tried to do is promote infiltration throughout the site as best we can. The site has pretty good sandy soils. So we actually have 2 underground infiltration systems that will be fully infiltrating up to the 25-year storm, which is above and beyond the stormwater requirements for a redevelopment site. In addition to that, we are providing what we like to call a plunge pool to try to mitigate some of the overflow from, much more aggressive 100-year storms for these 2 sites. And that plunge pool has been designed with what essentially amounts to a level spreader along that southwest portion and allows a non-erosive velocity of flow to come off the property to the southwest. I'd like to point out that the overall discharge for the site at both design points is significantly less, both in volume and in terms of the peak flow than what is here today, particularly because we've promoted so much infiltration on the site. In addition to this, the underground infiltration systems, we're also providing hydrodynamic separators and deep sump hooded catch basins, which are going to bring the total TSS removal, total suspended solid removal, to over 90% for the site. Again, above and beyond what's required for a redevelopment site in Massachusetts. Finally, I'd like to just quickly share the fire truck movement. I want to make sure that you all know that there is adequate fire access. I believe the fire department did not have any comments for us, but the site has 2 existing fire hydrants, one on the opposite side of the road, one on the same side of the road, and we've also designed the site to be easily circulated by fire trucks. And I believe that covers it, if I can answer any questions related to the site layout. Oh, sorry. I'm actually going to pass it over to Andy for the traffic.
I had sent in a PowerPoint. I don't want to rifle through your. Sorry, I thought you guys were. No. It's not a big deal. No, I have that. This is it, right? That's it. Yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. For the record, Andrew Arsenault,
business address 35 New England Business Center Drive in Andover. And I'm representing Vanass and Associates. We prepared the transportation impact assessment in support of the project. And tonight, I just want to provide a very brief overview and summary of that report. As a starting point, the report was prepared in consultation with the city and in accordance with MassDOT and industry standards for the preparation of these reports. We collected the base traffic information in April of last year, and then again in August of this year. We reviewed both sets of the data, and actually the April 22 was slightly higher than the observations that we made in August. So we used that to form the basis of our technical assessment. Independent of the project, the Plain Street corridor is flagged as a highway safety improvement program location, and we developed some recommendations that I'll touch base on in a little bit. The proposed drive-through lanes are designed to be long enough to accommodate the anticipated queuing, and the driveways are appropriately located to provide safe operations. As talked about, this is the project site. Just to quickly orient ourselves, our site is located along the north side of Plain Street, opposite the Target Plaza, just to the east of the connector, and immediately south of Montreal Street. The roadways in the area are all typical of an urban environment, around 10 to 12 feet in travel width, with sidewalks provided along one or both sides of the roadways, and pedestrian accommodations provided at the intersections. Moving on to the trip generation numbers, we base these estimates on statistics published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers, which is industry standard. One of the important things to note is that this type of use, a fast food restaurant with a drive-through, a relatively high proportion of those trips consist of pass-by trips, which for those that may not know, those are motorists that are already traveling along the roadways. They stop into the project site, do their transaction, and then continue with their intended destination. In this instance, it represented almost half, or a little above half, of the total trips associated with the project. Ultimately, to boil it down, we're estimating about 160 new trips during the weekday morning and Saturday midday peak hours, with around 90 new trips expected during the weekday evening peak hour. That's both directions, entering and exiting, so 45 and 45 for the PM peak. 45 entering, 45 exiting. We looked at the existing travel patterns, and we used those as a base point to estimate the distribution of those estimated trips. The bulk of the trips are anticipated to be coming to and from the west of the site, either along the connector or Plain Street to the west, with the remainder going down Plain Street to the east, and the rest trickling through the north. After we applied those distributions to the roadway network, we were able to perform our technical assessments, which I won't bore you with, and ultimately arrive at the suggested recommendations that we came up with. I'm going to try to quickly go through this, recognizing the time. These first few slides are reflective of the internal site plan and the access, and that generally were all reflected on the site plans that Marianne presented. Specifically, the first few items on this are discussing the internal travelway widths, keeping them 24 feet wide for two-way travel and a minimum of 20 feet for one-way travel, along with providing official MUTCD signage and pavement markings as appropriate. Moving off of the motorized users, we have some pedestrian accommodations that we propose, linking the restaurants to the parking fields and the proposed network of sidewalks in the area. All those accommodations should be designed and to accommodate ADA standards. And then we have some operational items like clearing snow drifts and maintaining vegetation within the site areas. Again, all these are very typical items and standard to most projects in the area, nothing really sticking out. Moving on to the specifics, we have the off-site improvements. We had two classes for that, the traffic operations and the safety. For the operations, the two signalized intersections of Plain Street at the Lowell Connector northbound ramps and the Plain Street at the Target Plaza driveway intersection. We did find some potentials for some improvements to the system out there, and the project proponent will design and implement an updated traffic signal timing and coordination plan for those two signals, to the extent that that is desired by the town, obviously. With that, we should get to operations that no individual movement will be operating above capacity or at capacity, for that matter. And again, as I had mentioned earlier, the existing corridor has been flagged as needing improvements in the State Highways Safety Improvement Program. The project proponent will facilitate the preparation of a road safety audit that the city can then use to improve the roadway for all users. And lastly, we developed a transportation demand management program to reduce the dependence on single occupant vehicle trips as much as possible. Just to pull a few items off this list, it will be along the lines of informing employees of transit options, coordinating any carpool opportunities, and providing bicycle accommodations, in addition to the pedestrian accommodations that I discussed earlier. Again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time this evening. With that, I'd like to hand back to Mr. Gary for his conclusion, but I am available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah. So despite the technological issues we had, we feel that we have established for the board that we meet the criteria for issuance of these special permits that we're requesting, and as well the criteria for the site plan review for the site plan. So with that, we are requesting approval of both tonight, the two special permits and the approval of the site plan. We're happy to answer any questions or address any concerns that the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. At this point in time, I'll turn the proceedings over to the public. Anybody this evening like to speak in favor of this project? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. Anybody like to speak in opposition? Just come to the microphone and state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Paul Eaton. Live on Montreal Street, and that Montreal Street is the street that runs, I guess, behind where the restaurants will be. My question is there openings from Montreal Street to the restaurant area? And so that's going to increase traffic on Montreal Street. And there's no parking on Montreal Street, except for the business. Oh, so there'll be a driveway entrance as well as a walk-in entrance from Montreal Street.
No building.
No, but the traffic will come down Montreal Street and enter a driveway into the restaurant area. So that's an increase in Montreal Street in front of my house. There's no sidewalks on Montreal Street.
So your question is, will the traffic go down Montreal Street, right? Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Yep. That was on the plan, yes. They showed the consumption of what the breakdown of traffic, where it would go, where they're coming from, yes. Yep.
And is there going to be fencing along the property on Montreal Street?
We're currently actually just meeting with arborvitae's, the big shrubs versus fences. Just looking. And yes, there's two-way access on Eaton Street from Montreal Street, but we're planning the site to be preferentially accessed on the street end.
Well, that's designed to attract traffic in that way. But people
This is a one-way out at the top of the site and a one-way out at this side of the site as well. So realistically, people will come down if for some reason they wanted to use Montreal Street. We don't anticipate that given that there's another road here, and obviously this is the main road. There's going to be a slight increase on Montreal Street, but preferentially people will want to come to this side because this is where the parking is.
Yes, anybody else like to speak?
Hi, I'm Denise Eaton. I live at 14 Montreal Street as well. We're the oldest residents there. There's only 7 houses on that street. As it is now, we've got people using that street as a cut-through to get around the traffic that builds up on Plain Street. And yes, you can say there's not going to be any impact, but I think there will be. And I don't understand why you would have to have access from Montreal Street. If you're doing one entrance onto Eaton Street from Plain Street and just going into those plazas, why can't they just circle around and go right back out the way they came in? They really shouldn't be coming out on Eaton Street. I mean, on Montreal Street, excuse me. The other thing I'm wondering is what's the timeline of this for a projection of when you're going to be building and breaking ground, and how long is that expected to take? These are just curious questions because we don't know anything about this. The other thing is property upkeep. As far as nothing was mentioned about rubbish storage, dumpsters, or any of that, and if you're only doing arborvitaes at the back of that property, drive down Chelmsford Street and look at the back of all those properties. Nobody enforces anything in this city about upkeep on any of these type of businesses. And you drive down there and all the back of those properties are an absolute mess. That's a recommendation for rat increase and everything else. We keep up our property, and it's really annoying. I mean, I know this is going in, and that's certainly an improvement from the way it's been an empty lot for years now. But the whole thing is, it should be recommended in a proper way. I don't see the sense in having it come out onto Montreal Street because people use that as a cut-through all the time. They don't look out for people, nothing. The rubbish is a big concern because with arborvitaes and people dumping things and stuff not being picked up and cleaned, that's going to be on our street too. So I think, and my concern too is the fire trucks. As far as if you've got an access on Montreal Street, is that strictly for fire or is it going to be for regular traffic coming in? Because if you're having I'm trying to be clear, are you having from Montreal Street a one-way entrance into that, or is it going to be a two-way, in and out?
I'll just answer that last question.
I'm just throwing these things out here.
Well, so first of all, the fire department was given a copy of the plans, and they had no concerns and no comments back to us.
Well,
they did indicate that the dumpsters are going to be screened as they have to do by the Lowell zoning ordinance. And they were going to be screened as Marion said in her presentation. They would be dumpsters and they'd be screened from one for each individual building.
How are they going to be contained, the dumpsters?
They're in a screening area, and each one of them has to be in screen. It's by the Lowell zoning code. So if they don't have that, they don't get a building permit, and they don't exist.
Okay. And it's
So the main thing is keep the dumpsters closed and clean it up.
Dale, you've got some things you want to say too? You giving up? Okay, my only other thing was the timeline.
Do you know how long it'll take to build the whole thing from start to scratch, council, if you know offhand? So,
We imagine it would take about 18 months from the time that permits are received.
Okay.
To build out the project. And just to go back and answer a few of the of Ms. Eaton's questions and concerns. So with regard to the access out onto Montreal Street, so Eaton Street is it's a private way. Again, from, it starts on Plain Street and runs, back well beyond this property. We have an obligation to keep that private way open for private rights to pass and repass, which is why it's not closed off at the rear. We have to keep that open. And that's why we show the plan the way it is. With regard to the rubbish, Mr. Chairman, I think you handled that. We do show the dumpsters. We show the screening on the dumpsters, very appropriate screening on the dumpsters. So I think those are the questions that I heard. But again, happy to address any questions that the board may have as well.
Thank you, counsel. Anybody else like to speak in regards to this project? Anybody else?
Dale Inglis. I own the body shop that's in the back on Montreal Street. So I definitely have a lot of the same concerns. I feel like, you know, there's been so many plans to this VFW. That whole street was supposed to be closed down before. And I didn't know it was even going to be opened up like this. You know, my concern is all the extra traffic, the trash for sure. I don't know where they're going to put any of the snow. I'm not sure where all the pine trees are going. It looks like they're being eliminated. The fence, what are they trying to do to Montreal Street? Are they expanding into the street to make it smaller? I feel like there's way too much going on for this small property myself. I don't know if anybody's ever been on Plain Street, any lunchtime or evening, the traffic's, you can't even move out there. I can't see how this isn't going to affect the traffic by, you know, 40 cars, whatever they're saying, seems a little ridiculous to me. I mean, I don't know. I know we don't have much say in this, but I just feel like this is a little too much. I feel like they maybe should have tried one restaurant or maybe two restaurants. 3 seems overkill to me. So, I don't know. That's about it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak? Counsel, anything further? Anything
No,
else?
nothing further, Mr. Chairman. Again, we're happy to address any questions that the board may have.
Thank you. So I'll just start off. I know at the very beginning, counsel, I want to make sure I understood you correctly. TPD as well as transportation engineer suggested a kind of a lengthy list of recommendations in regards to several things, and I believe you probably have a copy of both of those.
We do. We have a copy of those, and those have been, you know, we worked on in conjunction with the city's transportation engineer, and we are agreeable to each one of those conditions.
Because I believe what Dylan did in his comments from staff kind of incorporated all the transportation engineers' recommendations as summary and recommendations conditions.
That's right. He incorporated all of those into his comments, and those are all of the conditions that we are agreeable to.
So basically, our transportation engineer has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different recommendations on how to help deal with the traffic and on-site, off-site, road safety audits as well. One of the things mentioned, I know Montreal Street was brought up a couple times. One of the traffic engineer's recommendations are, the applicant will remove or trim the vegetation along the south side of Montreal Street within 50 feet of Eaton Street. The applicant will petition the city for removal of on-street parking along the south side of Montreal Street within 50 feet of Eaton Street. The applicant maintain landscaping and as well as road safety audit from Plain Street, the little connector, synchronize the lighting. And the applicant also indicated that majority of the traffic going to the site will be people who are in that neighborhood already. So they feel it'll be people not coming from other destinations to go to these restaurants, but it'll be people in those neighborhoods stopping into these restaurants. They're talking about having appropriate bicycle storage to cut down on traffic problems. Let's see, talk about restriping certain eastbound left lanes is on Plain Street and the Target Plaza. And this was after review of, after the city took their own traffic analysis and compared it to what was given to us tonight by the applicant, where the city was doing some of that work anyways for the Tanner Street project that has been in the works for quite some time now. And a lot of those comments came from adjacent roadway projects were done with coordinated with the various city departments. So we have a lengthy list of traffic conditions to help move the traffic up there, and the applicants indicated that they will go along with all those comments requested by traffic engineer.
Correct, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman. And
They're
we
pretty
vetted-
lengthy, so I just want to make sure we threw them out
Yeah,
there.
no, that's correct. And we also vetted the project pretty thoroughly through the DPD Economic Development Team. We incorporated, most, if not all, of the input that we received through the process. And
I think the last time that I can recall when they tried to synchronize some of those traffic lights up there was when Hannaford was in there. When they
right,
first came in.
long time ago.
And I know they had a question, and actually Hannaford spent a lot of money on doing a lot of those traffics. They paid for all those traffic signalization.
Yeah.
And way back prior to that was, where I used to go was that, when they had Sears up there.
So the applicant is willing to spend some money as well and do what it can to improve that intersection.
Okay, thank you.
You.
Board members have any questions? I just want to make sure that everybody was on board with the traffic recommendations.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Counselor, we received an email late this morning from Dylan, and actually was from the staff engineer regarding the stormwater system.
Correct, from Gordon.
Yeah.
Bergeron.
I'm assuming you're...
Yeah, so Mary Ann will work with, she had reached out to Gordon early on and, in her initial design. The applicant will absolutely agree to work with the city stormwater team. They are very reasonable, they're very, very good. So happy to condition any approval upon, stormwater team approval.
Sure. Thank you. And so you mentioned Jeffrey Dirk. We have a history with Mr. Dirk, have a lot of respect for his work, and we've actually used the firm for peer review on several large projects, and they've actually provided some very constructive input on making the project better than the initial proposal. Just a question maybe to Andrew, and I understand the concerns from residents on Montreal Street. Can you go over a little bit about the scope of your review in reference to Montreal Street?
Absolutely, yeah. So we performed traffic counts along the Plain Street corridor. We have counts at Eaton Street and the next street down, Main Street. Sorry. So we used that to perform our analysis. We also did site distance observations out there along Montreal Street specifically. That's where we came up with the idea to cut back the vegetation, to open up the sight lines, and to make sure that everything is out there is visible and safe for motorists along along Eaton Street. I guess specifically to Montreal Street itself, we did not have any specific recommendations for operations out there.
So based on did you have any numbers of what you thought, you know, it would probably be accessing through that, or exiting that way?
From the proposed development,
Yes, yeah.
it would be around 10 to 15 in the peak hours.
In peak hours, yeah, just to be clear, that's not like all day, but that's peak hours. So, yeah, there would be more during the course of the day, but peak hours is what you're looking at.
Yeah, during the peak rush hours, it would be around 10 to 15 coming down Montreal Street. And they would be working their way up to go up to Main Street and points north.
So maybe, Jack, is there a pattern of cutting through right now? Or is it possible to tell from your studies or count?
It's not entirely, we weren't looking specifically to do that.
Okay.
There are ways, but we did not. We weren't specifically looking at.
You only look at
cut-throughs.
Montreal, but not do you look at the next streets?
Yes, yeah, you'd have to do it. Yeah, you'd have to do a license plate tracking study, and
I see.
It's a little bit more involved that we did not do for this
Okay.
for this process.
I mean, I would imagine people are cutting through there right now because they just shoot across the parking lot. Right now, that's going to discourage, with the development of this, that'll discourage that type of traffic, which I think is a positive thing. I do like the landscaping. That site is in serious need of landscaping. That's circa late 60s, 70s type of approach of
It's not an attractive site right now.
developing a site, you know, so I think that's a huge improvement. Had concerns, I have to admit, there's an awful lot going on the site, but you meet all of the queuing requirements for each one of the drive-throughs. I think you did a good job articulating the parking situation there. I do know Taco Bell, we entertained at Taco Bell. Another section of the city was more the delivery trucks and how they were going to access through the neighborhood, but as far as most of their business is drive-through, and that's what they gear for, that's geared towards. So I understand that. I have to say, I think these chain stores do a better job of keeping up with the landscaping than some of the
Yeah.
mom and pop businesses that open up here in the city, and we all know who they are, and we all rub elbows with them, but they don't keep their properties up as nice as some of these chain places. It's sad to say, but it seems to be the truth. So from that perspective, there is an extensive amount of conditions here related to traffic. And obviously, we would incorporate those, into the condition, as you've noted, a full agreement with, so.
Right, we have reviewed every single one of them, and it's agreeable.
Now, the parking situation on Montreal Street, that's really, it's more of an encouragement. It's up to the city council. That would be something you'd have to petition.
Yeah.
But I understand the reasoning there as well, so, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chet. Caleb, any question, comment?
I'll follow up on that question on the parking on Montreal Street. It's only 15 feet from Eaton Street, like the intersection, correct? So you're just petitioning for removing the street parking, not entirety, but only on part close to the intersection?
Yeah, two cars, five.
Two cars?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah, because I'm thinking parked cars sometimes are obstacles sometimes, but I mean, in calming the traffic, it can have an effect as well. I almost think that whether there will be effect if you have speed tables on your cut through toward Eaton's to discourage even people driving through, but I know that might not be convenient for, say, the fire trucks or something, but have you looked into that and how you can discourage drive-through, or that's not really
Cutting through from Plain to Montreal?
Or just driving down Eaton and then just strict shot to Main Street and turn right, like through your site.
So so somebody not visiting our site, driving through?
Down Eaton?
Yeah.
And then just...
I think I understand. We have an obligation to keep that open for private rights to pass and repass. So there's nothing we can do about that. We have to leave it open. So we imagine that once the lot is developed, it's less likely that you're going to cut through. If you Go through the site, and if you, at the site now, there's no reason not to, if you go into the back, there's no reason not to just cut through the parking lot.
makes
But I
sense.
think that once it's a, post-development, that's probably a different story.
Okay. Oh, thank you for explanation. I think secondly, I think there's a recommendation to restripe the turning lane on Plain Street. So what's the status that you're working with the city? I suppose that's just only a city property, not Mass DOT or anything like that, right?
It would be with the city.
With the city.
Yeah.
And with the traffic engineer requesting to do that, I suppose they're okay with the turning lane, right?
Correct.
Because right now I think, what is it called? The turning lane for the Target kind of extend out to your entry. So I suppose it will be like a cutoff and then become a left turning lane into your property. Or,
Yes, yes.
because I would think that a lot of people off the highway will want to turn left into your property, correct?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. That's
Okay.
that's where the bulk of the traffic is going to be coming off of the connector.
Okay, thank you. And then, are there going to be any toll signs, or that's not part of this development? I'm just thinking of those highway signs.
I'm sorry. What type of signs?
Like, toll signs that you can see from the highway. There's none of that, right?
Any signage will have to get approved through the zoning, but if we don't meet the requirements of the code, we'll have to get approval from the zoning board of appeals.
Are there
I don't-
any
Do we have any?
idea of doing? I know Target have a big sign out there, but
They do, right. We don't have the proposed signage at this point in
Okay.
time. So that would be,
Got it.
that would be the next step.
okay. So and maybe staff can remind me that go through this who ZBA for signs. Okay.
Yeah, it actually comes to me, Fran and Dylan, the sign permit, and then we review it to see if it meets the zoning code.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think I agree with fellow member that that the vegetation and landscape plan look pretty robust, and I appreciate the shielding from the BC activity from the residential area. That will be south of your site. So
Correct.
and also for the TDM, I think that's also very robust. So I can concur with like a reduction of the parking requirement as well. So thank you.
Sinead, question, comments?
I just agree with my fellow board members that I think overall it's an improvement to the site. It improves the stormwater management on the site and reduces the impervious area on the site while providing a more robust landscape. Just to answer, I think one of the neighbors' comments, I was just curious, are the pine trees to the north of the property going to be removed as part of the project? It wasn't super clear, I don't think, on the plans.
Yes, they would have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to be replaced with arborvitae's, and I think they're at least 8 feet sort of.
Yeah, and I think I counted, or I read on the plan that there was 44 trees, new trees being planted on site. So it, like in terms of public shade trees and tree replacement, again, I just appreciate the quality of the site plan and the landscape plan. That's all, thank you.
Thank you.
I gotta admit, when I went up there and looked at the site, I couldn't believe how big the parking lot was.
Enormous.
I mean, I went into the site, I looked at the building, and I drove all the way to the parking lot. I thought, boy, you drive by, you don't realize how big the lot is.
Yeah, I was out there over the weekend. I thought the exact same thing.
I'm sitting there going, you drive by, and that's why I always say, you might drive by a site all the time, but not until you go really look close to it. I drove around the back of the building and everything else.
Right.
But,
Big site.
yeah, but the parking lot, I'm like, wow, that was huge. And it really showed how big the spot was. But I know, so basically, planning staff, they had, no main concerns. Basically, they were okay with the project, and they, most importantly, as we think we discussed in detail with the city transportation engineer. We were obviously, you know, at first, when I looked at it, you know, you saw the three restaurants on one site, you thought it could be a little complex, but then the way it was laid out and the way the traffic thing was explained tonight with the queuing and everything else, I think, and the traffic engineer with her comments shows that the site could work. So you anticipate, I think, with the Smoothie King to have the least amount of traffic, correct?
Correct, because of the nature of the business.
Were they like the smoothie drinks, I take it? Is
That's
that what it
right,
is?
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there are any around this area or in
Because I made a Smoothie
Massachusetts,
King,
but
I'm like,
I've been down south and they're very, very popular and they're very good.
yeah, I know there, a lot of those are catching on with other small little stores that are selling them and stuff like that,
Yeah.
the eateries.
So it's healthy smoothies, some probably not so healthy, but
So basically, that's all they sell, huh? There's not much
Yeah,
food, not much
yeah.
food itself then.
Right.
So some of the people, like you say, like the fact that you have the walking distance back and forth, so somebody might go to one or two of the others, then walk over
Right.
and pick up something from the smoothie.
correct, yeah.
And as we have seen in the fast food restaurant changes, Jerry said earlier, more people go to the drive-through.
I think that's the trend.
I mean, when we approved the new McDonald's up on Roger Street, I went in there not too long ago, and I think there was like 6 people inside and 10 in the queue, in the drive-through.
Yeah,
You know, I get up and walk in, I'm not waiting in the quew.
old
You
fashioned.
know? Well, yeah, you know, they say if you get the wrong order in the queue, by the time you figure it out, it's too late.
That's right.
I think that was one of the movies, right? But yeah, so I think a lot of people do, that's the trend. I mean, the same thing we saw down on Chelmsford Street when they put some fast food restaurants in. And like the bigger establishments, like you say, Taco Bell, they say the numbers aren't there, but people can't sit down anymore.
No, absolutely.
It just in and out, in and out, in and out. And it keeps the traffic moving as well. I remember when they put the one in on CVS out on Wood Street. And they didn't, you know, the question whether they had the parking, but they say, nobody stops. They just go through a drive-through, pick up prescriptions, and keep going.
Yep,
And
right.
so it eliminated the need for, when they we requested to reduce parking, and when you go by there, the parking facility is never full.
No.
You know, you look at people, maybe, you know, a woman with young children or something there, we picked up a prescription, didn't have the other car, bring them in. Same thing with all the drive-throughs. It's just the trend. So,
Right, you can stay on your phone while you're in the drive-through, all kinds of
You know,
reasons to.
like I say, I think more importantly, when you have young kids, they're driving through, or elderly people with health issues getting in and out of the car or something.
Right, yep.
It's just more of a demand, and like I said, the bigger chains like the Popeyes and the Taco Bells, they know the numbers because they're all over the place.
That's right.
I think we only saw part of a Popeyes when it came before us out in Chelmsford. It was right on Drum Hill, and part of the, 90% of it was in Chelmsford, and we had the 10%, so we just had a small approval of it. But yeah, I'm satisfied as long as the traffic engineer, what she highlighted, it was very thorough, and as long as that's in place, I'm in favor of the project, so. So basically, you need 2 special permits and 1 site plan approval, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What's that? Yeah. Yeah. One other comment thing we saw from Joe Cady, the engineer, I take it you have no problem with that. One was about the granite curbing.
Right, most of those are you know,
Boilerplate from him?
building permit issues, and yes, we can,
Yeah.
happy to incorporate those as well.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan with the condition of the approval from the Stormwater Department, as modified as they requested today. And from the memo that we received from the Transportation Review from Elizabeth Altman, dated November 2nd, with the summary of recommendations, that they be implied as well, and that the conditions as requested by the city engineer dated December 4th. Any discussion from board members? Any other conditions? Okay. So that'll be my recommendation for the site plan.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion made and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, so the site plan is approved. So now we need a motion for, we have two special permits. Where is the, where did I put it? Oh, that was on that one. I think under this one. Yeah. Where's the recommendation? Okay. So we need one special permit for, excuse me here, for the drive-through.
That's 12.4G1.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for, yeah.
And the other one is the table of uses, oh yeah, that's the table of uses.
So we need two, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the special permit for the restaurant drive-through, and with the incorporating the conditions that were set forth in the site plan.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and second, no. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none. The special permit is approved for the drive-through, and the other special permit is to reduce the required parking for a restaurant by one space per 250 square feet.
Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve this special permit per section 6.1.5, part 5, to reduce the parking requirement with the same condition on the other special permit and site plan approvals.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for the special permit. We have a second.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes yes. That motion carries. Any opposition? Hearing none. That motion carries 4 in favor and none against.
Thank you,
Council.
Mr. Chairman.
Wish you well.
I believe
Thank
this
you,
is the
everybody.
last meeting of the year. Thank you all for your time.
Yes,
Happy
it is our last
holidays.
meeting of the year. Thank you. Thank
See
you,
you
everybody,
next
for coming
year.
down, participate.
Thank you.
Happy holidays to all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have any comments from any of the board members? Or any updates?
I don't have anything.
No, he gave us the last update on the work bridge.
Rich, yeah.
Caleb has an invitation, but we don't.
Yeah,
Any comments over, no, anybody else? No?
we're good.
Peter, you have no comments for us, right? No? Okay, make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made and second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Good night, and thank you very much, everybody.